The weakest talent. Have you heard of Senju? This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 151 Ye Chen Reclamation. Sure line. Hearing Ye Chen's words, Bei Junjian smiled slightly. That's what I mean. Although I know the ability of your flame, it's better to use that ability sparingly. On the one hand, Bei Junjian wanted Ye Chen to show his strength, just in case he couldn't control these thorns. 5 semi-sages, and more than 20 strong people in the fiery sun realm point. If you pull anyone out, your age is several times that of Ye Chen point without the absolute crushing of strength. It is impossible for anyone to succumb to a hairy boy point. On the other hand, Bei Junjian also learned that Ye Chen's strongest strength is the flame point, but the disadvantages of the flame are also obvious. The sun-like temperature. It can only be said that it is the temperature. If the flames with the temperature of the sun are released outside. Ye Chen was stunned when he saw Bei Junjian point. Immediately said, "It's okay, I don't need a flame." Without flames, Bei Junjian was stunned by Ye Chen's words. Of course, my wood-type talent has also conquered a certain holy realm. Ye Chen shrugged and looked at Ji Qianmeng. Ji Qianmeng was speechless. Just talk when you talk. Why are you talking about me? But there is no way. Only to say in agreement. Indeed, when I was in the secret realm, this kid relied on Muzan to rescue me. Only then did Bei Junjian believe Ye Chen's words. It turns out that Ye Chen floated in the air, looking at the thousands of people below. The unity is the combat power above the starry realm point. The bright moon realm is about a quarter of the star realm, and the scorching sun realm is only about 20, not to mention 5.5 saints. Ye Chen stepped out and faced the sea. I know that when I came here, I was going to sit on everyone's heads. There must be some people who wouldn't accept it. So, I will show everyone a reclamation offer. Ye Chen looked at the endless east blue and said to the thousands of people behind him. This sentence made the soldiers of the tribe bewildered. What did this person mean? Reclamation? Did I hear it wrong? You're not kidding, are you? That's right. That guy said he was going to reclaim the sea. Does he think he is Jingwei? God damn Jingwei. Jingwei's reclamation is also slow. Okay, even. Bei Junjian gave Ye Chen a deep look. The soldiers on the front line didn't have much time to spend, and they really didn't know much about Ye Chen's 30,000 meter giant Buddha point. If Ye Chen summoned the great Buddha in the sea, it would indeed be comparable to reclamation point. Ji Qianmeng unconsciously appeared such a picture in his mind. The 30,000 meter true. Several thousand hands waved their Senju arms and attacked like fried fish. What kind of consequences would East Blue have? In ancient times, there was Nether in the sea, but today there is Ye Chen bombing the sea. Thinking of this, Ji Qianmeng shook her head suddenly, joking. Ye Chen floated above the sky, his hands clasped together. His eyes were slightly pitiful. My Buddha is merciful. The fish in the sea cast a good baby in the next life. Wood style secret art. The birth of the tree world. Ye Chen swears that this is the first time he has used this trick since he came to this world. The two saints and thousands of soldiers stared at Ye Chen silently. I saw that the ground under Ye Chen suddenly strung out countless trees, and the emerald green trees were like dazzling gems in the sun. Countless trees rolled and rushed towards East Blue in full view. Less than 10 breaths above the East Blue Sea, an emerald green coast continued to rise, directly filling the coastline for thousands of meters. The whole sea floor is the wood style used by Ye Chen. Ye Chen carefully watched the changes in points. This move directly increased tens of millions of points, as expected of a war killer. Ye Chen is very satisfied. Seeing this scene, not only thousands of soldiers were dumbfounded, but even Bei Junjian fell into deep thought while watching Ye Chen's rhythm. With him here, isn't it a bit redundant for these soldiers to stay here? Of course, the soldiers present also had the same idea. Bei Junjian thoughtfully called out his talent. The gentleman's sword was held in his hand and flew towards the emerald green coastline below. After landing on the coastline, He picked up the gentleman's sword and slashed it down. The emerald green coastline cracked open. Bei Junjian was stupid. He knew very well how powerful his Junzijian's defense breaking ability was, and when he chopped on the wood, Bei Junjian thought he chopped on the evil king. Thinking of this, I instantly pulled away from the emerald coastline. A sword slashed, and the sword key waved out. Bump. A sword key broke a 2-meter deep crack in the coastline. Bei Junjian's eyes narrowed slightly. If the sword slashed on the ground, it would have to be at least 30 or 40 meters of cracks. It's not wood, is it? Is this a diamond? And the thousands of soldiers were also dumbfounded. Juggernaut. Released water. Impossible. It's such a big crack. Even I can punch it out. And the few half-sages were silent. Whether Bei Junjian had released water, and his casual strike was not only the case. Attacking the strongest juggernaut is no joke. Back then, the 1,000-meter deep gully in the north was driven by the juggernaut with all his strength, and a sword formed a natural protective barrier. Oh, it's not enough to refuse to accept the old man. Bei Junjian said helplessly, looking at the crack. Turning around and looking at Ye Chen. Ye Chen's name is worthy of the name. Ye Chen felt a little embarrassed when he heard Bei Junjian's words. It's not an option to call Ye Chen all the time. You're from the wood type and the fire type. It's time to think of a title. Ji Qianmeng smiled and said, I really haven't thought about this. Ye Chen scratched his head. He hated it the most. It doesn't matter, just think about it slowly. Bei Junjian is now more and more pleasing to Ye Chen. Lively lad. After a brief exchange, Bei Junjian and Ji Qianmeng left. The next East Blue will be handed over to Ye Chen. Although Ye Chen is still young, his strength is in front of him. The old god stick and the demigods are both in the southwest of Daksha, and Bei Junjian is going to go to the two of them to recuperate this time. The importance of the old god stick must be protected. Although the demigods are in retreat, they are definitely much safer than other places. How is it? I just said this kid is not bad, right? The distance from East Blue to the southwest is a bit far, and Ji Qianmeng needs to store some spiritual energy. To continue the transfer, simply sit down and chat. Bei Junjian pondered Ye Chen's figure, not knowing why he always felt that his body and mind were gradually relaxed. The ability to become a god. Bei Junjian said with a smile, looking at Ji Qianmeng. Such a high rating? I forgot when was the last time you complimented someone. Ji Qianmeng was a little stunned. Bei Junjian is now 98 years old. Entered the Holy Land at the age of 40, got married at the age of 60, gave birth to Bei Shan, and his wife died in childbirth. Bei Junjian still loves his deceased wife very much, but Bei Shan cried. His father is not at home all the year round, and he has no mother. Until the appearance of Fankir, Bei Shan felt the mother's love. Bei Junjian just thought about letting Fankir become Bei Shan's true mother. Chapter 152. Overcome the difficulties? No, the evil flood king DOESN and -039, no. Confused, he was pregnant with a white war at the age of 40. Bei Junjian was in his prime. The four saints of the human race at that time were the old god stick, Bei Junjian, Ji Qianmeng, and the dead Yan Yan, the ancestor of the Yan family. So, when Ji Qianmeng disappeared, he already knew Bei Junjian. Bei Junjian felt helpless when he heard Ji Qianmeng say that he praised someone last time. You've been missing for so long. Of course you don't know if you want to say that the last time you praised someone, it was a few years ago. Zhang Bingking appeared, awakened at the age of 6, moved mountains at the age of 7, fell into the sea at the age of 9, stepped into the starry realm at the age of 12, crossed the semi-sacred realm at the age of 25, and stepped directly into the holy realm. Speaking of this, Bei Junjian shook his head helplessly. It's a little depressing to think that I became a saint at the age of 40. Ji Qianmeng was the one who was really depressed. Then I was sanctified at the age of 70. Did it go to a living dog? Bei Junjian was stunned and looked at Ji Qianmeng deeply. Ji Qianmeng also looked at Bei Junjian resentfully. The two smiled alike. Hahaha, but I'm relieved that there are strong people from the human race. No, even if I die now, I can rest in peace. It's a pity that old fellow Yan Yan died early, otherwise we could still have a drink. The victory of the human race is imminent. Beijunjian side point Ji Kai and Meng looked into the distance. Great victory. It's still early. We have been guarding this continent for more than 100 years, and we haven't seen the situation in the west. Beijunjian fell silent when he heard the words after the aura recovered. Countless countries were destroyed in an instant, but no one knew whether there were still people alive in the West Point, and Beijunjian did not apply once to go to the west to see the situation, but was stopped by the demigod point. There is only one reason, and that is, will die point. Beijunjian is the strongest in the Holy Realm, but I don't know why. Every time I face a demigod, I feel that I can't even break the opponent's defense. On Ye Chen's side, after Ji Kai and Meng and Beijunjian left point, the group of soldiers also looked at this Ye Chen who was younger than their own children with tangled faces. I saw Ye Chen suddenly speak. Everyone, new to the ramp, just a few words with you. How do you say it? Anyway, it's here with me. There are no rules. The only thing you need to pay attention to is. Ye Chen's words brought the soldiers back to their senses. Sure enough, the new official took off his 3 fires. This guy is about to start. That's right. When you fight, do your best to fight, and then when I start, you don't care about anything. Retreat by yourself. Don't care about anything. Just leave it to me. In an instant, all question marks appeared in everyone's mind. Cough. Everyone may not have seen my strength. The coastline just now is only a small part of my strength. My talents are all indiscriminate range attacks. I'm afraid that you did not die in the hands of alien beasts, but in my hands. Ye Chen smiled slightly, then disappeared in place, ignoring everyone's reaction. Point. Wait for Ye Chen to come to Beijunjian's original residence, a small house, and a table and a bed. Nothing else. However, the internal affairs staff on the side explained it to Ye Chen. Point. Yesterday, the evil Flood King attacked Beijunjian, and the original residence was destroyed, so he made a temporary one. Point. Ye Chen just reacted and walked out of the door immediately. Point. In front of everyone, he performed a first-hand 3-story villa technique. Point. What, 3 rooms and 1 living room technique? Weak burst. Okay, as long as Ye Chen is willing, he can now use the sky building technique. Deep in East Blue Point in a ravine. Point. The evil Flood King is listening to the report of his subordinates. It is said to be the shore of East Blue, and suddenly there is a mutation. I'm afraid it's not that Beijunjian is afraid, right? Evil Flood King sneered. Point. The scavenger cultivated on the side. In the depths of this gully, the aura content was much richer than other places. Heh, the strongest saint of the human race? Under my hands and Zilong's big brother. Don't they have to be injured and run away? The scavenger said disdainfully. Point. It never occurred to me that the 2 of you were the ones who escaped. Point. In the yin space, he made a big move and then backstabbed Beijunjian behind his back. After almost exhausting his spiritual energy, he just walked away. Beijunjian was almost pissed off at the time. The last time this guy attacked me was half a month ago, and this time it was even more outrageous. The 2 holy realms directly stabbed Laozi in the back. If it wasn't for my quick counterattack, you can sit right away. Luckily, I'm always on the lookout for this guy to fuck me. Of course, when Beijunjian left, he had already told Ye Chen about the evil king's insidiousness. For example, every 3 days, and every 2 heads will send a dragon's breath to himself from the yin space. So now Ye Chen is always on guard against a sudden jump out of the 6th. Your Majesty, if Beijunjian is seriously injured, then this coast. The complainant said hesitantly. It doesn't matter. The human race will not have any backing, and if there is a backing, it will not be left to today. The evil Flood King said contemptuously. Tonight, Xia King and I will go again. As long as that Beijunjian has not left the East Blue front line, he will surely die. The king said. Well, if you have nothing to do, you can leave. The evil Flood King silently closed his eyes, and the unknown beast retreated respectfully. Xia King, what do you say about this? The evil Flood King squinted at the scavenger and said. Point. I saw the scavenger lying in the arms of the evil Flood King and said coquettishly, oh, what Big Brother Zilong says is what he says. Xia King, you are so sensible. If Ye Chen and Ji Kai and Meng were here, if they heard this conversation, they might not be able to hold it on the spot. It's disgusting after all. You are so good at this. but I can't blame the evil Dragon King for this. At that time, after the scavenger's body was reshaped, it changed from a male body to a female body. This guy, the scavenger, is now male or a female. No one knows. Poor evil king. I thought about a lot of words and faced difficulties, making it harder and harder, and being in a dilemma point. After thinking about it, I can't think of the right adjective. Beautiful love. So enviable, but I have to vomit first. You guys continue. Chapter 153. I still like that color before. Ye Chen didn't know that when he first came to East Blue, he was stared at by the old sixth point, not to mention, these two elders actually came to target Beijunjian. Today's reward has been received, and the Pirate World Junior Conqueror's Haki has been received. Ye Chen was slightly taken aback. Today's post is a little late. Nonsense. It's obviously the same time as yesterday. Ye Chen heard the system Tsundeer's answer, and didn't say more. Turn around to open the Conqueror's Haki's enhancement interface. Elementary Conqueror's Haki, strengthening requirements. 1,000,000 points reinforcement content. Becoming an intermediate. Ye Chen was stunned on the spot, and a good reinforcement became an intermediate level. Myo. It's really wonderful. Frog seeds that eat Myo crispy corner into Myo's house, and Myo arrives home. Ye Chen suddenly thought of something, and suddenly came to the emerald green coastline that he created with the birth of the tree world. He stretched out his fist and slammed it down with all his might. Boom. The huge impact sent waves on the wood-style coastline. A group of soldiers who were patrolling heard the movement and rushed towards Ye Chen in an instant. Who? Ye Chen glanced at it and said slowly, "It's me, Master Ye Sheng." Everyone quickly bowed in greeting. "It's okay, I'm just trying to see how powerful my fist is." When everyone heard Ye Chen's words, they breathed a sigh of relief. Ye Chen was a little unhappy when he saw that his fist only caused such a big hole to his wood-style point. Although I haven't used the power of Menace Grand yet, but it's not so weak, right? While thinking, Ye Chen wrapped armament Haki around his right hand. The soldiers looked at Ye Chen's arm with huge eyes. Hands turned black. Black hand. I saw Ye Chen punched again. Boom. The coast formed by wood style was instantly smashed into a huge pothole by Ye Chen's punch. The arm is even more destructive, penetrating directly into the wood style. Everyone was dumbfounded. This ordinary punch? After Ye Chen left, this group of people secretly tried the hardness of the coastline that Ye Chen made. But now, under Ye Chen's punch, such a big pothole appeared. He swallowed his saliva silently, not daring to speak. And Ye Chen couldn't help frowning when he saw this situation. This destructive power is not enough. Immediately communicated the power of Menace Grand. A force poured out of Ye Chen's heart. On Ye Chen's face, the mask slowly appeared. A killing intent emanated from Ye Chen. Ye Chen used his armed color again. Punch down. Boom. The dull voice disappeared. It was replaced by a huge sound of destruction. Originally, under the blessing of the armed color, the emerald green wood style was punched into a huge pothole, and the center was destroyed. And this time, unlike before, a huge pothole several meters deep appeared directly under Ye Chen's feet. If he hadn't been able to fly, this would have been at the bottom of the pit. Ye Chen was stunned. The blessing of the armed color is so weak, and the blessing of this virtual force is so strong. With the blessing of the power of emptiness, Ye Chen's combat power can skyrocket, which he knows in his heart. But this is the first time he knows how much strength he has soared. You compare the ability of 1,000,000 enhanced points with 100,000,000 enhanced points. I fucking want to change the host, do you agree? Ye Chen was embarrassed. I don't think that the more you give me the stronger you are. Ye Chen responded in his mind, "Oh, then I'll bring you a pair of Hinata stockings tomorrow, and you can use them to kill an enemy and show me." Cough. Cough cough. Ye Chen was speechless by the system. The soldiers behind who were planning to go on patrol were already staring at Ye Chen's masterpiece. "I'm sorry, I just used too much force. You continue to patrol, don't mind me." Ye Chen intends to strengthen Conqueror's Haki next, otherwise the blessing of this Haki seems to be somewhat irrelevant point. And I heard that the side color quickly consumes mental power, while the armed color quickly consumes physical strength point. I don't know if it's true or not. Gently click to open the enhancement interface point. I glanced at my points, 128,568,380 point just. Right, it is another 100 million, and you can choose another talent to strengthen point, but Ye Chen is not in a hurry. He wants to raise wood style to a billion level first. After finding Conqueror's Haki, I click strengthen instantly. Intermediate Conqueror's Haki, strengthening requirements. 10 million points reinforcement content, become advanced. Sure enough, Ye Chen didn't think. The reinforcement became intermediate, and the reinforcement content was changed to advanced point. Good for you. Ye Chen was too lazy to push too hard, and click to strengthen again. Advanced Conqueror's Haki, strengthening requirements. 100 million points enhanced content, unlocking the color of knowledge of future vision. According to Ye Chen's understanding, it should be a short-term prediction of the future, right? In the original book, Luffy's battle with Kacha touches on this. Sure enough, the real good things have to be strengthened to the level of 100 million point, but now there are 100 million points left. There are 4 options that can be enhanced. Raijin Jaka Yamamoto Jilias Hey, the power of menace Grand Manjaki Sharingan without Kamu Premium Conqueror's Haki, a real man. Hold your breath. Wait until you need it. Strengthen it again. That night point, the moon above the sky has faint signs of consummation. Ye Chen was lying on a rocking chair watching the moon and the emerald green 3-story villa he built. The sea breeze is blowing. The moon is shining. Drinking juice. So unhappy. Having said that, at the beginning, when Ye Chen said that he could build a house, everyone was happy. I thought I wouldn't have to live in a cave in the future. Results: Ye Chen first-hand verdant villa technique. It directly left the soldiers speechless. This green thing on top of my head, let's forget it. A group of big men, although there are also many female soldiers, but he was alone, and his wife was at home alone. How can you live in such an emerald green villa? Just in case. I mean, what if it really gets green? No, don't live in a house like this. At that time, Ye Chen still felt inexplicable, until the moment when he walked into the house and the sunlight shone into the house. An emerald green light illuminated the entire room. At that time, Ye Chen was silent the moment he walked in. Seeing that the whole room was green, Ye Chen sighed deeply. I still like the color of the previous wood style. Chapter 154 almost invited the frontline soldiers to dinner. With the sea breeze blowing, Ye Chen fell asleep without noticing. With his current body, it is impossible for the sea breeze to let him catch a cold. It's just that the back and forth, the mental power is limited after all. After all, until now, except for Manjaki Sharingan, which requires spiritual power, other talents are mainly physical and spiritual. You have to raise your mental strength, otherwise you will be charmed and mentally attacked when you encounter something. Although Sharingan is immune to illusions, but the strength gap is too large, and it is not immune, such as Sasuke, a Gaoyu who was crushed by Itachi God. PFFT. Sorry, couldn't hold back. Of course, even if you are not immune, you will be able to resist. But Ye Chen never thought about it. The current Sharingan is still at the Manjaki level. Ye Chen, who was sleeping soundly, did not know that at this moment. He was hundreds of meters away from him. There are 2 figures hiding in the shadowy space. It's him. The scavenger's eyes flashed red in an instant, and he wanted to tear Ye Chen's body into 10,000 pieces. Where's Beijunjian? The evil king did not find Beijunjian, but found Ye Chen. I also understand a lot in my heart. I'm afraid that the person who guards East Blue has changed from Beijunjian to Ye Chen. Brother Zhiling, I want him to die. The scavenger couldn't care about anything at the moment. Aishin only wanted Ye Chen to die. Even Zhiling's big brother stopped calling. However, the evil Flood King doesn't care. After all, his king sister was destroyed by this kid. If it wasn't for her tenacious vitality, she would have died long ago. This is also a disguised revenge. Zara King, let's start accumulating power now. And when I say let go, let's launch together. And then I'll instantly switch to the Yang space. After The evil Flood King said these words. The two began to accumulate energy. The power of yin and yang of the evil Dragon King was transformed into two dimensions of yin and yang. Yin space is hiding, but yang space is different. Being in the yang space, the attack issued will be upgraded by a level. It was this trick that caused Bei Junjian to suffer many losses and often couldn't sleep well. After dozens of seconds, the scavenger and the evil Flood King looked at each other. Candle. Dragon Cannon. X to this evil Gyro is also shameless, calling himself the Candle Dragon, and even using the name of the Candle Dragon for his moves. Even taught this trick to the scavenger. I've taken it all. Do you two have the same species? In an instant, the space where the evil Flood King and the scavenger were located instantly changed. A golden light will illuminate the dark seaside. It's not good. The old yin force of the evil Flood Dragon is here again. A group of patrolling people immediately shouted. Obviously, they are used to it. Damn it, this old sixth. Come yesterday. Come again today. Fuck you guys. And Ye Chen, who was sleeping, suddenly opened his eyes. Suddenly. The whole body is trembling. The body is reacting, and it must be left here immediately. Ye Chen's eyes widened, and two huge golden flashes came in front of him. Fuck. Jair energy cannon? Ye Chen was dumbfounded. The two golden flashes merged with each other, with a diameter of hundreds of meters, and a batch of fast speeds. It was too late to react. Ye Chen could only bite the bullet, and communicate the virtual power in his body. Then the armed color wraps the whole body. Boom, boom. A huge crash sounded, and Ye Chen's villa was wiped out in an instant. A golden energy ball exploded in situ. The powerful shock wave and explosion range instantly created a 100-meter deep circular pit where Ye Chen was. Smoke billows everywhere. Master Ye Sheng, everyone exclaimed. Ye Sheng obviously couldn't dodge this blow just now. If Ye Chen dies, there will be 5.5 saints, which is not enough for the opponent's 2 saints to fight. And at this moment, the 5.5 saints also arrived. Seeing this scene, I was immediately dumbfounded. They don't like a hairy boy standing on their head, but they don't want him to die. Ye Sheng won't die. One of the female half-sages swallowed and said, I don't know. I received a full blow from the 2 saints. In the yang space, the evil Flood King changed his kilometer-long body, and the scavenger standing on his head burst into laughter. Ha ha ha, don't think about it, that guy's dead. After taking the full blow from me and Zilong's big brother, do you still want to survive? It's a fool's dream. Seeing that the scavenger was smiling so happily, the evil Flood King agreed. Zara King is right. The evil Flood King never thought that the kid could be killed by himself so easily. I was still thinking about how to kill him, but I didn't expect it to be so easy. The 5.5 saints were covered in cold sweat. If Ye Sheng really died, then East Blue today. I'm afraid it's going to fall. What should I do now? A half sage suddenly said. What should I do? Are you kidding me? Of course you died in East Blue. Could it be that you want to escape? Alien. Tens of thousands of warriors gathered on the coastline, and their eyes were also placed on the evil Flood King. Human warriors, not afraid of life and death. The evil Flood King also looked at the tens of thousands of people. His eyes were full of jokes. You can escape now. There is still time. Yes, this is your last chance. The scavenger also said. Yin and yang strangely. The 5.5 saints turned pale, and did not take a step back. Who doesn't want to live well? But behind you is home. You give up. We won't quit. One of the half saints suddenly raised his head and glared at the evil Flood Dragon King and roared. A red light flashed in the eyes of the evil Dragon King. Then go to death. The red rays of light were solidified and generally launched towards the 5.5 saints. Everyone was shocked. This was an attack at the holy level, and the 5.5 saints could not stop it. Tens of thousands of troops looked at the 5.5 saints worriedly. Boom. A huge explosion sounded, and countless eyes looked towards the 5.5 saints standing alone in front of the 5.5 saints. He moved his muscles and bones. I said, you're the real 6th. I've only just arrived on the first day. Can you save me some face? Come up and tear down my house. Ye Chen's voice sounded slowly. To be honest, He really wanted to see how strong the 5.5 saints were, and whether they could fight a few tricks with the evil Flood King point. But I'm afraid that I'll accidentally die half sage. That's not good point. So I had no choice but to show up to block this attack. You're not dead. How is that possible? The evil Flood King and the scavenger shouted aloud. Ye Chen is not dead. Tens of thousands of soldiers were also shocked. The attack of that level just now survived? Ye Chen said angrily. Of course he's not dead. Just attacking? How about tickling me? And what is the actual situation? The void mask shattered, and the armed color disappeared. Broken hands and feet, broken ribs. If it weren't for the high-speed regeneration of Sage of Six Paths body and void force, it would be a serious question to see Ye Chen now. Maybe on the first night of coming to the front line, I will invite the whole army to a table. Chapter 155. Male, female. The evil Dragon King and the scavenger were both stunned. What's the situation with this guy? To take the full blow of the two saints from the front is still passive. Is it intact? The evil Dragon King's eyes were full of shock, and he looked at Ye Chen carefully. Your spiritual energy has been consumed a lot. It seems that the trick just now didn't work, did it? When the scavenger heard the words, he immediately checked Ye Chen's status, and he was indeed a little exhausted. That's it. He's pretending. Big brother's yelling, let's go together and kill him. Ye Chen's expression changed slightly. He just sacrificed a lot. After armament Haki took the attack, he disappeared instantly, and the mask of void force was broken. If it weren't for the fact that Sage body was too strong, you could start thinking about what to prepare your brothers for the first 7 point. But Ye Chen doesn't care. He has never tried his current self. How strong would stylies? Isn't that the spirit? Isn't it easy? Take out the spirit stone and suck it. Not to mention physical strength. What physical strength do you need to stand on top of the Buddha's head? You're right. It cost a lot, but in my current state, hitting you, I don't think it should be a problem. Ye Chen smiled slightly, looked at the evil Flood King in the sky, and said. This sentence seemed to be mocking, and the evil Flood King was instantly angry. The implication of this kid is that, even if he is not in the strongest state, he can easily defeat himself. As the King of East Blue, this dignity has been rubbed on the ground. Can you not be angry? What do you mean? It's easy for you to defeat me? When the evil Flood King said these words, his huge body kept rising and falling. It seems to be suppressing anger. Zilling. Big brother, don't talk nonsense with him. Kill him. King Mui said that today, the human race will surely fall to a saint. Since Beijunjian is not here, then you should die for him. The evil Flood King opened his huge mouth, and a mouthful of dragon breath spewed out of his mouth. A huge black flame instantly surrounded Ye Chen. Ye Chen didn't panic at all, glanced at the black flames beside him, and said to the 5.5 saints behind him, bring the soldiers and leave the front line. Just leave it to me. The 5.5 saints frowned and stared at Ye Chen's figure. Ye Chen stretched out his hand and touched the black flame in front of him, feeling the temperature of the flame. It seemed to have a corrosive effect, but it was not particularly strong. Seeing Ye Chen's actions, the 5.5 saints were apprehensive and wanted to remind them, but it was too late. What surprised them even more was that Ye Chen had nothing to do. Don't worry about me. If you're lucky, East Blue will be liberated directly today. Ye Chen's chatty words made the 5.5 saints stunned for a moment. The previous scene of touching the black flame also gave everyone some confidence in Ye Chen. Turn around to leave. Lord Ye Sheng, be careful. One of the half sages looked back at Ye Chen and said, it is good. Although the evil Flood King did not interrupt Ye Chen's conversation, his face was very gloomy. Want to escape? Is it that easy? The evil Flood King's eyes widened, and 2 balls of golden light shot out from his eyes. Ye Chen is tired. This guy has a lot of skills. Hands together, 2 rows of trees sprang up behind him, instantly forming a shield. Emerald Greenwood Expulsion Jutsu. Debut. Protected 5.5 saints inward style. 2 huge holes were punched out by the golden light on the wooden wall tens of meters thick. The evil Flood King was slightly taken aback. This defensive power. On the other hand, the 5.5 saints who were protected fell into a brief contemplation. Emerald green on top of, I really want to die. Be green or something. I suddenly feel better dead. However, the 5 people reacted instantly and quickly left this place of right and wrong. This fight is so terrifying. I have to lose half my life. Before I know it. The half sage said something nice is to be close to the Holy Land. To put it a bit ugly, it is to appreciate the scorching sun with a few rules, and be able to beat the scorching sun, but was hanged by the Holy Land, as the 5.5 saints left. Ye Chen also shouted, all officers and soldiers, go back 1,800 kilometers. I'm afraid that the fight will affect you later. An army of tens of thousands of people. What did he just say? Back 1,800 kilometers. Retreat me from East Blue to South Blue. Are you a map gun? But Ye Chen actually said so, and they could only do it. It's just that the retreat of 1,800 kilometers is indeed an exaggeration. Usually, when fighting together, it is Bei Junjin and the evil Jiaoyang fighting at high altitude. But Ye Chen said, can't blame me for this. My big Buddha can't fly. If he can fly, then I don't directly use wood style to build a man-made spaceship. Wait, man-made spaceships? Seems interesting. The evil Flood King stared at Ye Chen, not knowing what Ye Chen was doing. Have you not shown your long knife yet? Today, Raijin Jaka is very tired and doesn't want to move. Ye Chen shrugged helplessly, floated up into the air, and lined up with the evil Flood Dragon King. I have a question for you. Do you plan to die faster, or do you want to take your time? The scavenger was trembling with anger, his chest heaving constantly, yelling, big brother, I can't help it, King Mei, it's okay, it's over soon. The evil Flood King said comfortingly. Ye Chen looked strangely at the two beasts. You, bit strange. I wanted to ask before. Xiao, why do you call a man King Mei? And why do you call each other so close? You have the goodness of Langyang? The evil Flood King was silent. Is Sister King a man? The scavenger was silent. Although I was a man before, but now I'm a woman. Boy, don't frame me. I've always been a woman. Okay, I remember you had a handle before. Ye Chen frowned, staring at the scavenger, and said, under the instructions of the evil Flood King, the current scavenger turned his outer armor into a piece of clothing, which he could put into his body at any time, and even change the style of his clothes. King Mei, is what he said true? The evil Flood King was very uneasy in his heart. Could it be that my 2 days is a man? No. This sentence always feels a little hard to say. Why is this? Big brother yelling. How can you not believe me? Then what are we doing washing you Nayu these 2 days? The scavenger was anxious and explained to the evil Flood King. He turned to look at Ye Chen again. Don't slander me here. You just want to separate me and Zilung's big brother. Whether I'm a woman, can Zilung's big brother not know? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 156. Be good, be obedient, let 039s not touch this hot spot. Ye Chen fell into deep thought. The amount of information is a bit large. Didn't the two of them just say that they've tried it? Ye Chen's face was solemn, and he said very seriously, it's not that he is a male or a female. Are the two of you the same species? You guys are against the theory of evolution of species, do you know? Ye Chen yelled loudly. Today, Ye, right here, slaughtered the two of you who violated the theory of evolution of species. The scavenger and the evil king were both stunned. Why all of a sudden has the style changed? In fact, Ye Chen didn't realize why it was suddenly linked to the theory of species evolution. What is more real? It's some silly author who doesn't know why it's like this. The theory of species evolution. Ahem. I won't tell you. It was just made up by me. Ye Chen suddenly raised his head and yawned. I'm a little sleepy, and I have to go to sleep after playing Sage Artwood style wood dragon technique. Ye Chen put his hands together, looked directly at the evil Flood King, and shouted. An emerald green tree with a diameter of 100 meters and a width suddenly burst out. The dragon head and dragon body appeared. The kilometer long emerald green wooden dragon straightened its back and looked directly at the evil Flood Dragon. Zhao Jiao, are you trying to fight a wooden dragon with me? The evil Flood King was stunned. Why did a green dragon appear out of thin air? Just when the evil Flood King was still thinking about these things, the wooden dragon bit the evil Flood King directly. King me, I'll tear up this fake dragon first. The evil Dragon King felt the breath of the wooden dragon without a trace of the dragon's coercion. It only has its own shape. Immediately, his eyes gleamed fiercely. The scavenger nodded slightly when he heard what the evil flood dragon said. Then, I will help you stop this guy. You tore up that fake dragon, and we will kill him together. It is good. The evil Flood King responded and swarmed up. A wooden dragon and a flood dragon entwined in an instant. The dragon claws collided, and a violent impact poured out. The sea surged instantly. The wooden dragon's claws were instantly shattered by this force. Then the wooden dragon's claws condensed out again. The evil Flood King was stunned for a moment, just about to say that this fake dragon is a weak chicken. But its repair speed is a bit overkill, since Zhao Jiao and my family Mulong are inseparable, then we should also deal with the matter between us. Ye Chen stared at the scavenger and said, let's not say whether you are a man or a woman. You didn't die last time, which is the biggest insult to me. I was careless last time. The scavenger looked at Ye Chen's every movement vigilantly. If I guessed correctly, your last state also had usage restrictions, right? Like once a month, or a year? Or, you can only use it once. Ye Chen looked confused and blinked. Is this guy out of his mind? Brainstorming. And when the scavenger saw Ye Chen's expression, he thought he really got it right. At this time, the wooden dragon and the evil Dragon King were still fighting frantically. It can only be said that Mulong is not an opponent of the evil Flood King at all, but Mulong's self-healing ability is fast. What's even more outrageous is that this guy is entangled with the evil Flood King, madly absorbing the huge spiritual energy in the evil Flood King's body. The current wooden dragon is an immortal existence at all. Don't worry, I won't hit you with flames today, although I know you have to use flames to kill you, but I can beat you half to death first, and then kill you with flames. Ye Chen's words made the scavenger confident again. Hahaha, since you can't use that flame, you're dead today. The scavenger was about to laugh madly. The last time he was chased and beaten by Ye Chen. Make sure to call back this time. With this thought in mind, the scavenger set off a wave of waves, which condensed into a huge water jet. You like to slash me with a knife, don't you? Today I will slash you with a knife too. Ye Chen was stunned. You call this a knife? A 400-meter machete? Let you escape 399 meters first. I still remember that you said, let me cut a knife, just a knife, and now this sentence is back to you. You also let me cut a knife, just a knife. The smile on the scavenger's face gradually became crazy. Ye Chen sighed deeply. The child is crazy. It takes a few big mouths to cure it. Sage. Artwood style wooden golem jutsu. Put your hands together and shout whatever you want. A giant of more than 2,000 meters emerged from the bottom of the sea. The huge body will carry a huge amount of seawater, and the seawater will flow down like a waterfall. The scavenger was stunned. The evil Flood King was stunned, and even during this slight stun, he was slapped by the wooden dragon, and his head was buzzing. Only then did he react and quickly kill the fake dragon. Ye Chen stood on wooden golem's head, thinking about what seemed to be missing. Putting his hands together again, a long knife appeared in wooden golem's hand, and the shape of the long knife was exactly the prototype of Raijinjaka. Well, come on, cut each other, Ye Chen said with a smile. To be honest, when Ye Chen saw the 400-meter water jet, he was really moved. After all, the guy Dang Shizhang used all his strength to stimulate that tsunami of 100 meters, let alone condensed into the shape of a knife. And now, Ye Chen has taken this move as a cabbage at all. Then body type? Just kidding. Do you want the 30,000 meter Buddha to call out to play with you? Between the words, the huge emerald green wooden golem raised his long knife and slashed at the scavenger. The scavenger's face changed greatly, and he also used his condensed water jet to cut down on Ye Chen. Wooden golem raised his hand to stop the water jet. The entire arm is cut off, and the water jets hit the top of wooden golem's head. Ye Chen dodged slightly, and wooden golem's head was cut in half. Then he recovered in an instant, and even his arms were restored as before. It's my turn. The wooden golem slashed with a long knife, and the scavenger hurriedly dodged. Ye Chen smiled sinisterly and put his hands together. The huge long knife instantly transforms into a huge hammer. Shike. Clear sky hammer. Holy crap, isn't it a knife? Why did it become a hammer? With a hammer, it hit the scavenger's forehead. Huge vibrations will cause waves of tsunamis. Call out. The scavenger flew towards the bottom of the sea in an instant, smashing a column of water hundreds of meters high on the sea. TSK. TSK TSK. This hammer is not light. Your brain is buzzing, right? The scavenger suspects Ye Chen in the sea. Why did the knife turn into a hammer? After thinking about it for so long, he still didn't think about it. King Mui, the evil Flood King, was instantly angry when he saw the scavenger being bullied by Ye Chen. The roar in his mouth burst out, and he already knew it. This kid's technique cannot be killed. Only by killing Ye Chen can it be solved. The real body of the candle dragon. I already borrowed the clear sky hammer just now, so let's forget about your real body. Let's not touch this hot spot. Be obedient. Chapter 157. Then I won. 039. T let go. Ye Chen's words completely stunned the evil Flood King. Then he reacted and roared with a very vicious face. Boy, how dare you deceive my sister king. You must die today. Although the evil Flood Dragon is not a candle dragon at this moment, he is already close. After all, the candle dragon is not a particularly powerful existence. In the final analysis, it is just a mountain god. Under the real body of the candle dragon, the body of the evil Flood Dragon King has undergone tremendous changes. The body grows violently and continuously enlarges after counting his breaths. A candle dragon with a human face and a dragon body appeared in front of Ye Chen. The sky also began to whistle with the breath of the evil Flood Dragon. 10,000 meters tall and soars into the sky. Every time you turn over, there is a huge wind pressure. Ye Chen was stunned. Is this guy really a candle dragon? But is the candle dragon so weak? Only 10,000 meters. There are quite a few beasts and mythical beasts that Blue Star returned to its ancestors. It's just that most of these so-called atavistic beasts and divine beasts have only a trace of divine resemblance and strength. The evil Flood King stared at Ye Chen stubbornly, exhaling hot air constantly, closing and opening his eyes along with the evil Flood Dragon King. The sky also brightened and dimmed. When the evil Dragon King's eyes widened, the whole world suddenly lit up. Ye Chen doesn't understand anymore. The sun doesn't need anymore. It's late at night, right? Although there are ancient books that say that the candle dragon is sitting on the power of yin and yang, it is daytime when you open your eyes and night when you close your eyes. But I didn't expect you to come for real. Ye Chen immediately stopped despising the evil Flood King. And when the real body of the evil Dragon King Zhurong appeared, his strength and physique skyrocketed. Even the power of yin and yang is more perfectly controlled. But in this state, the evil Flood King did not use it all the time. Every time it was used, it would consume 1/10 of its lifespan. It seems that the price is not high, but the evil Flood Dragon King is a different beast, not a human race. The evil king of the Holy Land has a lifespan of 10,000 years, and every time he uses his true body, it takes 1,000 years of life. The whole world was shocked by this sudden change. And Beijunjian, who was just about to repair his injuries, also crawled out of the repair cabin with his injuries. That guy Zijiao used his real body. Ye Chen is in danger. Beijunjian was anxious, and a mouthful of blood poured out of his mouth. Master, Sword Saint, you can't leave now. Your injury is too serious. A female nurse on the side quickly supported Beijunjian. Evil Jiao uses his real body. I have to go to the front line. It's not the first time that Beijunjian has played against the real state of the evil Dragon King. It can be said that the evil Dragon King can only draw with Beijunjian in the real state. This is also the reason why he did not choose to open his real body after attacking Beijunjian yesterday. After all, opening a real body once is 1,000 years of life. If you don't break through the demigods, the lifespan of the evil Flood King will not be much left. In your current state, what are you going to do on the front line? Are you going to die? An old man suddenly scolded behind the female nurse. Old Tang, but Ye Chen is only 18, facing the real state of the evil Flood King, and fighting two saints alone. Beijunjian felt anxious. Ice Phoenix and Old Man G are already on their way, so just leave everything to them. You are lying to me. Bei Junjian narrowed his eyes when he heard Tang Leo's words. Evil Flood King uses his real body. Will the Frost Queen and the North not feel it? Ice Phoenix is not there now. How about it? If I'm not mistaken, both the North and East Blue are in a hurry now, right? Tang Qingshan's eyes were playful. You're right. But you can't leave now. Even if you leave now, and Old Man G is not there, you won't be able to make it to the front line. Bei Junjian completely ignored Tang Qingshan's words. Even if it's too late, I'll leave. The gentleman's sword appeared in his hand and was thrown. Bei Junjian jumped up and stepped on the Junzijian. I must go. Tang Qingshan looked up at the figure of Bei Junjian leaving and sighed deeply. Stubborn than you. At this moment in the Northern Realm, Ji Qian Meng and Zhang Bingqing are doing their best to resist the invasion of alien beasts. Senior, go and help Ye Chen. Zhang Bingqing waved and threw a huge icicle at the enemy. Ji Qian Meng also used the power of space to kill many alien beasts. Do you think that I can help you by going there? Ji Qian Meng adjusted her mood and said, that kid, he is very strong, although he was also very uneasy in his heart. After all, they were two saints, and one was even the evil Flood King who had been famous for many years. What's more, the current evil Dragon King has also used his real body. Zhang Bingqing wanted to say something, opened his mouth, and swallowed again. He nodded towards Ji Qian Meng and stopped talking. The best way now is to trust Ye Chen. With the appearance of the true body of the evil Flood Dragon, countless alien beasts surfaced in the entire East Blue. A bunch of sea beasts floated in the air, which made Ye Chen's scalp tingle. Those who didn't know thought that they were playing a different beast egg at the beginning. How to play the hatched giant kun, and so on. The evil Flood King grabbed the wooden dragon's body firmly with one paw and swallowed it into his belly. With dragon technique just broken. Ye Chen was shocked. In his impression, this was the first time that the wooden dragon had been destroyed so easily. Even the wooden dragon used by Senju Han has never been broken, and at most it is broken up. It is easy to restore the dragon's body, but the wooden dragon is weak, and there is no need to restore it. But this time, it was really broken. At this moment, the scavenger also transformed into a body and emerged from the sea. A kilometer huge body floats beside the evil Flood King. Ye Chen, you will die today. The sound of the scavenger's huge mouth made Ye Chen feel sick to his stomach. You can shut up. You can smell your bad breath from such a distance, so Xiao Jiao can smack you. Ye Chen said with disgust. While disgusting, he secretly looked at his strengthening panel. Now this situation can't help but strengthen. If you don't strengthen it, you will have to explain it here later. Ye Chen took a deep breath and clicked strengthen on Sharingan. Enhanced content. Enhanced spiritual power and evolution. Eternal Manger Key. In an instant, a refreshing feeling came from Ye Chen's mind. Opening his eyes, Manger Key Sharingan emerged. The world becomes clearer, and every detail is captured. And these are all done in an instant. Hearing Ye Chen said that he had bad breath, the scavenger became furious. A mouthful of thick phlegm flew towards Ye Chen. And the evil Flood King looked at the scavenger's attack method and saw her body for the first time. What was the situation? However, the evil Dragon King didn't think much of it. Ye Chen put his hands together, sighed deeply. Oh, today, it seems that either I killed you two, or you two killed me. Then I won't keep my hands. After all, I just gave you thousands of hands. Chapter 158. Sasato Buddha, slaughtering the East Blue Beast and the 5 demigods and the army of tens of thousands of people who had left originally discovered that the evil Flood King had used his real body. They were about to return to the front line, but they were stopped by 5.5 saints. What can they do now? You can only trust Ye Chen. If Ye Chen can't stop them, then they will also die on the front line. Just in order, the scavenger's thick phlegm flew towards Ye Chen. Ye Chen was not afraid at all, and the power of emptiness was used again. In midair, teleportation, dodged the scavenger's attack. Ye Chen was a little nervous in his heart, wondering if the 100 million level Eternal Manger Key could cover Wood style. After all, it is the Eternal Manger Key, but the increased mental power is a bit terrifying. Sage. Artwood style true several thousand hands. Ye Chen roared and roared. A voice resounded throughout East Blue. The Terran soldiers looked back in Ye Chen's direction. Countless sea beasts roared in response to Ye Chen. In an instant, the entire East Blue was like an earthquake. A giant Buddha appeared under Ye Chen. With the appearance of the giant Buddha, countless arms behind him condensed. Wooden golem sits cross-legged on the head of the giant Buddha. Ye Chen looked down at the 10,000 meter long body of the evil Flood Dragon King. We can start. That 30,000 meter high emerald green giant Buddha stands above East Blue, whether on land or under the sea. It was almost twisted by the huge figure of the giant Buddha. The evil Flood King was stunned. His real body has skyrocketed tenfold, and it's outrageous enough. Now this guy, the height of 30,000 meters, plus the size, 30,000 meters tall, body width is also 30,000 meters. Ye Chen. The evil Flood Dragon roared. This time he finally called out Ye Chen's name. He recognized this man. Candle. Dragon Cannon. The evil Flood King opened his huge mouth. His eyes slammed down, and the whole world was instantly pitch black. This is also one of his abilities, to make all the light disappear within a specific range. To hide his body. A cannon shot out. The evil Flood King wiggled. Ye Chen didn't panic, since he used true several thousand hands. It was a deadly battle. True. Several thousand hands. The top of the Buddha. Ye Chen put his hands together, controlled thousands of arms, and launched them towards the approximate direction in his impression. His goal. Not the evil king. It was the army of tens of thousands of sea beasts behind the evil Flood King. As long as you can kill one, you will earn blood. It can be said that this wave of the evil Flood Dragon belongs to killing 1000 enemies and self-destructing 800, because when he controls the light in this area and disappears, he can't see the enemy's movements clearly. In an instant, countless wood-style arms patted the evil Dragon King and the sea beasts. The huge palm slammed into the sea, and the huge waves appeared instantly. And the Candle Dragon Cannon also destroyed dozens of wood-style arms, and attacked Ye Chen. Ye Chen didn't panic at all. The wooden golem in front of him stretched out his hands to block Ye Chen, and armament haki instantly attached. Sharingan exhaled, and Susanoo put on wooden golem's body. An absolute defense appeared. The moment the Candle Dragon Cannon touched Susanoo's outer armor, it exploded. This time, his attack did not break through Ye Chen's defense. Boom, bump, countless voices poured into Ye Chen's ears. Ye Chen didn't care, and secretly paid attention to the enhancement panel of the system interface. The points kept rising, but they didn't rise fast enough. The sea beast in the frontal shot died immediately, but the affected ones did not die immediately. The Candle Dragon suddenly opened his eyes, and the world lit up again. Ye Chen also captured this scene. His eyes narrowed slightly. Susanoo. The voice slowly exhaled, and blue skeletons appeared on Ye Chen's body, along with flesh, skin, and armor with his wings spread out behind him. Susanoo is completely body. On the top of the giant Buddha, above the wooden golem, stands a Susanoo with a height of several kilometers. Ye Chen smiled helplessly. It's too much. This is the eternal manger key level, 4000 meters Susanoo. I can't even think about it. However, Ye Chen quickly came to his senses. This should be the system enhancement interface, the increase of spiritual power. So here comes the question. Ye Chen jokingly looked at the embarrassed evil Flood King. In the dark, the evil Flood King had already suffered serious injuries because of Ye Chen's blindness. Countless slaps slapped all around. Evil Flood King's 10,000 meter body. How to hide? Even the scavenger hit 2 flat aces. Little gyro. The next attack has its own enchantment. It's so easy to do it. Pretty. Susanoo. After Ye Chen shouted, Susanoo, which was several kilometers away, split apart instantly and was attached to the wooden golem like a piece of armor. As time goes by second, the armor Susanoo transformed into completely wrapped the 30,000 meter Buddha. The emerald green Buddha is covered with light blue armor. When the light blue armor fits perfectly with the giant Buddha. The big blue Buddha soars into the sky. Ye Chen laughed wildly. Laozi fucking wanted to try this trick for a long time. Susanoo. Buddha. 2 people destroy the 4 kingdoms. Today, I, Ye Chen, try to slaughter you. East Blue, terrified. Blood. kept pouring out from the corner of the crazy Ye Chen's eyes. Even the eternal Mangeki, some Susanoo, who can't bear thousands of meters, put on a big Buddha of tens of thousands of meters. The dark blue Susanoo turned into a light blue. After wearing it, the evil Flood King immediately panicked. Ye Chen once again controlled thousands of arms that had grown back and flew in all directions. Give me death. The evil Flood King gritted his teeth, wondering what he was thinking about. The dragon's claws stretched out, blocking the arm that was attacking him. Bang. The huge force instantly bounced off the dragon claws of the evil Flood King. The evil Flood King was completely stunned. When these arms touched his body before, they were instantly turned into pieces, and now, is it intact? Is it because of the armor that wraps around it? Why is there such a strong increase? It's useless. This is the most perfect move in my heart. Indiscriminate attack. A move that can destroy the world. The evil Flood King looked at Ye Chen, who was almost crazy, but he couldn't even think of fighting back. The 30,000 meter giant Buddha is already difficult enough, and he has slapped dozens of times, and his body is still in pain. Not to mention thousands of slaps. And can the broken arm be reunited? This time, it was even more exaggerated. Putting on a blue coat, a slap could make his dragon claws bounce off and be intact. What should I do? How to do? There was only one word left in the evil Flood King's heart. He wanted to live. Me's body couldn't dodge these arms completely. Just when the evil Flood King was in a hurry, a slap hit the evil Flood King's body. Sure enough, the arm did not break, but maintained a huge impact. A powerful shockwave was introduced into the body of the evil Dragon King. In an instant, blood spilled from the corner of the evil Flood King's mouth. He looked at Ye Chen with very vicious eyes. What's wrong? Can't you do it? Zhao Jiao. Chapter 159. The Evil Flood KING-039. Last card. Ye Chen's face gradually distorted, and his laughter became more and more wanton. Covering his face and laughing wildly. On the contrary, there was no smile on the face of the evil Flood Dragon. Turning to look at the compatriots around him, even the scavenger was slapped a few times at the moment, and his injuries were very obvious. But for the scavenger, this little injury is nothing. What's wrong? Zhao Jiao, is that all there is to it? Go on. The evil Flood King's face is gloomy. Is this person a pervert? Brain is not normal, right? Are you the fucking villain? In fact, Ye Chen doesn't know what happened to him now. It seems that the eternity Mangeki urges to the mechanism and can't help but want to laugh. The power of emptiness also has some effects on the heart. Maybe the combination of the two makes this such a his maniacal laughter more serious. The evil Flood King is very anxious now. After all, he doesn't know how long Ye Chen's current state can last. One slap made himself slightly injured, and another 180 slaps. And it seems that the arm behind the big Buddha is constantly being reborn. It's like a steady stream. Ye Chen, don't force me. Evil Flood King roared through the sky. Like a divine sound, it rang throughout the entire summer. Half of the Daksha people heard the roar. Ye Chen! Exclamation mark. That was the new saint of the human race, announced the day before yesterday. Just what was that sound? It seems you are talking about Ye Chen. What? Does it seem like you are talking about Ye Chen? Do you think that a voice of this level must have the strength of a saint? Then what do you mean? Ye Chen is fighting with the holy realm of alien beasts now. Aren't you talking nonsense? Of course. With this roar, the evil Flood Dragon King even used the bonus of spiritual power, and this roar also shocked a lot of his originally seriously injured subordinates to death. Ye Chen was not happy on the spot. It was all Laos's points. The deafening voice made Ye Chen very unhappy, and immediately responded with spiritual power. Master, I will force you. What can you do with me? On the edge of East Blue, countless people woke up from the night. A 30,000 meter Buddha stands in the sky. Blue light. No, it was light blue armor attached to the emerald green Buddha. The dazzling light makes the whole Buddha look like a god descending from the earth. Countless arms are reborn, fired, shattered, reborn, fired behind the great Buddha. The fuck is this? True, several thousand hands. This fuck is Shinsu in hand. People near East Blue also picked up their phones and started live streaming. This giant Buddha, so familiar, isn't this the one in Kyoto? Is this Ye Chen's method? Unbelievable. Too strong. How high is this? 10,000 meters. Ah. You kidding me upstairs? This is 30,000 meters. 10,000 meters are already straight into the sky, and this giant Buddha can't even see the Buddha's head. It is definitely more than 30,000 meters. The evil Flood King kept beating each other. He also wanted to dodge the attack, but in his real body state, he was too huge to dodge at all. And this real body state cannot be transformed into a human form. If you become a demigod yourself, you can use the real human form of the candle dragon, but not now. Ye Chen. Don't bully the dragon too much. What the hell are you talking about? Zhao Jiao, aren't you cowardly? Ben Lang will be cowardly. Then, what the hell are you doing? Fuck me. Come on, you and I can only live one day today. The brief communication between one person and one beast used the spiritual energy like a prank. Half of Daksha could hear it clearly. Bei Junjian, who was flying in Yu Jian's flight, fell into contemplation. This East Blue. Am I still going? Why do I feel that Ye Chen is the one who has the upper hand in these few dialogues? A pair of two have the upper hand. Am I still going? Bei Junjian was full of confusion, and finally he decided to go. After all, if I don't go for a trip, I always feel that I'm not at ease. On this side, the evil Flood King was furiously beaten and continued to yell at Ye Chen. As for the scavenger, at this moment, it has transformed into a human form and hid behind the evil king. I have to say, this kid can bend and stretch. Understand the flexibility. Ye Chen repeated the big Buddha's arm to attack again and again while digging out spiritual stones to replenish spiritual power while paying attention to the points of strengthening the interface. 730 million, 300 million more. Directly Angerwood style. Today I have to use the big Buddha to give you an essential oil to open your back. Just kidding. The wood style in this state is much stronger than Senju Hashirama's full strength state, plus the Suzawi outfit. The evil Flood King in front of him has at least slapped him for hundreds of years, and there are constant minor injuries, but there are almost no major injuries. This made Ye Chen very helpless. And it was too difficult to reach this level of existence. Must be suppressed by fire. Find neutrals and kill more beasts to get more points. A certain system watched this scene, squatting on the seeds and holding the watermelon, and couldn't help but sigh. Wonderful, wonderful. Is this the Sasado Buddha I've always dreamed of? Ye Chen was stunned. Wait, what did I just hear? If I'm not mistaken, it's the sound of the system, right? Damn it, I'm fighting to death here. Where are you? Looking at the great Buddha of Sasado from God's perspective. But Ye Chen thought about it carefully. That's not right. People are systems. They can't help me fight, can they? Wouldn't that be a substitute? Ye Chen, I'll give you one last chance now. Stop. In the future, my candle dragon will no longer violate your East Blue border. How? No way. 89 million. Really? Zilling said that I will never do it again. I do not need 91 million. Then, what are you going to do? Give me an explanation. I want you to die. 930 million. The conversation between one person and one beast is still going on. The whole world has been stunned. In the live broadcast, a 30,000 meter Buddha was madly outputting towards a 10,000 meter human-faced and dragon-shaped alien beast. Every arm is like a mountain and patted towards the evil Dragon King, and the sea. Every beast touched by a slap will surely die. Every time a slap touches the surface of the sea, the waves soar into the sky. And only the long worm still stands on the opposite side of the giant Buddha. Ye Chen, don't force me. I didn't force you. You were the one who violated my border first. You were the one who attacked me first, and you were the one who wanted to slaughter my human race first. I'm just tit for tat. 99 million. Ye Chen, you are courting death. The evil Flood King was completely enraged by Ye Chen, and one of the two huge eyes suddenly emitted a jet black unknown substance. Yin. God burst. Evil Flood King's left eye, a smear of black matter like a black hole, swallowed everything around it. Do not, to be precise, it wraps the entire space around the evil Flood King. An absolutely dark field was formed. Chapter 160. Ye Chen frowned slightly. This evil Flood King's methods are endless. What kind of weird move is this? Just when Ye Chen thought so, the dark space immediately told Ye Chen point the moment Wood Styles' arm touched the pitch black space. He immediately lost contact, as if he was really sucked into a black hole. Point the evil Flood King's expression was as if he was going to eat people. The price of this move was very similar to that of distinguished heavenly gods, a super powerful spell cast at the cost of losing 1,000 years of light in one eye. Ye Chen is a little panicked. Can't he hit? Isn't this fucking invincible? Just like Obito's gangster. If he didn't share Kakashi's eye, he would be invincible. You brought it on yourself. The evil Flood King's face became more and more ugly. He really didn't want to use this move, because after using this move, his body couldn't move. And only the only means of attack left. This move can be said to be an invincible defensive technique. But the result is obvious. Unable to move, can only wait for others to save him. Ye Chen obviously discovered this problem, because after this move appeared, the evil Flood Dragon King kept that move. Apart from being able to speak a few words, he did not move at all. And the left eye of the evil Dragon King has been slowly closed. The evil Dragon King sighed deeply. King Mui, I'm sorry. Under this move, I don't know if you can survive. The evil Flood King glared at Ye Chen with his only remaining eye. In an instant, the right eye slowly closed. Yangshan burst. A small golden bead suddenly appeared on Ye Chen's body, and it was firmly fixed on Ye Chen's chest. This sudden change made Ye Chen feel bad. He quickly tapped the golden bead with his hands in the last field of vision. The evil Flood King saw Ye Chen slapping the bead's raging laughter. It's useless. This trick will appear on your chest, moving little by little toward the depths of your heart, until it enters the deepest part of your heart and explodes instantly. Do you know that Torch Dragon's eyes are the most powerful attack? Yang God Blast represents ultimate defense. Yang God Blast is ultimate attack. This will be my most powerful attack, enough to destroy the entire human race. Ye Chen's face changed greatly. This is not a fucking joke. At such a close distance, Zilong's full strength attack is still the most powerful attack, bursting from his heart. This motherfucker's death is determined. Bah. When the scavenger heard the words, he quickly fled into the distance. For the scavenger, it is hard to die, not immortal. Of course you have to escape. Ye Chen was instantly angry. This guy seemed to be really pushed by him. According to the words of the evil Dragon King, his two eyes, one is ultimate's defense, and the other is ultimate's attack. That is to say, after this move, the evil Flood King is not feeling well. Taking a careful look at the strengthening interface, Ye Chen had 1.2 billion points. Ye Chen didn't know if he still had a chance to survive this move. True several thousand hands solution. With the disbandment of true several thousand hands, Ye Chen's spiritual power recovered a lot. The huge Buddha sank into the ground, and the live broadcast room exploded instantly. Ye Chen cancelled the spell. Why? Died. Impossible. Ye Chen is running out of time. The golden bead is madly digging into his heart. If it wasn't for Sage Body and Void Force to stop it frantically, it would have erupted now. Ye Chen called out Raijin Jaka and flew towards the evil Flood King. Then click on the strengthening interface. Sage Body has reached its limit. So now the only thing that can save his life is a blessing of the power of Menace Grand. Without any hesitation, Ye Chen tapped the power of Menace Grand twice. Power of a Judges, strengthening demand, 1 billion points enhancements, pinnacle steel skin, hollow armor covering the head, power of Vasto Lord, strengthening demand, 10 billion points enhanced content, perfect steel skin, hollow armor covering the upper body. Ye Chen didn't even see it clearly, so he directly strengthened it. Only this thing can save me now. At the moment of strengthening, the mask on Ye Chen's face instantly extended, covering his head and chest, and his breath became more violent. But to Ye Chen's surprise, the golden bead moved slower. 1 million points left. I ordered Conqueror's Haki, and I'm going to die anyway. What is the greatest pain in a person's life? That means people are dead and the money is not spent. So Ye Chen decided, the points are spent first. Bankei. Remnant Fire Sword. Ye Chen skipped Shike directly and flew towards the candle dragon quickly. Countless flames poured out of Ye Chen. In front of Zilong's huge figure, Ye Chen's flames seemed incomparably small. That firelight, is it Lord Yisheng? Flame. I heard that Lord Yisheng used this move. to shoot down the meteor. He still has a whole card. Come on. Ye Chen had a fierce look on his face and gritted his teeth. Your turtle shell has high defense, right? Remnant. Fire sword east. Rising sun blade. A thick plume of smoke came from the tip of the residual fire sword, and it was cut down with one knife point the moment you touch the pitch black space. The pitch black space melts in an instant. That doesn't conform to science. The evil king looked at this scene and panicked for a moment. Impossible. Nothing is impossible. Seeing that his attack had some effect, he was instantly overjoyed. As long as you can break the defense, I have to get into your side today, and I won't explode with you. No one wants to live. Thinking of this, a picture suddenly appeared in Ye Chen's mind. In that picture, he was lying on the bottom of the sea with only one head and one arm left, holding the broken remnant fire sword in his hand. There was no evil flood king around. Ye Chen's face was gloomy. Remnant fire sword west. Remnant sun prison clothes. Countless flames gushed out from the residual fire sword and turned into a long robe and draped over Ye Chen. The 15 million degree flame instantly dispelled the dark matter around Ye Chen. Incredibly close to the body of the evil flood dragon. How is that possible? What do you want to do? Ye Chen raised the residual fire sword and the flames gathered again. He smiled maliciously and said, guess what? Remnant fire sword east. Rising sun blade. The residual fire sword plunged into the body of the evil gyro king. The golden bead on Ye Chen's chest also emitted a huge light. I have no choice but to drag you to death. Ye Chen smiled and thrust the residual fire sword into the body of the evil flood king. The smile on his face made the evil flood king extremely terrified. In a state of yin and spirit, he could only watch. Well, he was blind, and he could only feel the rules of the rising sun blade constantly engulfing him. From the abdomen, the burning marks of the flame spread in all directions of the body, turning into ashes, and Ye Chen frowned slightly, and the position of his heart twitched. A golden light gushed out from his chest. It's over. Barbecue. Chapter 161. The Broken Raijin Jaka. The End of Death. The moment when Ye Chen said Raijin Jaka Bankai. Zhang Bingking, who was in the north, suddenly turned pale. Ji Qianmeng frowned. What's wrong? He used the flame. Zhang Bingking transformed his wings, and he was about to fly towards East Blue. Ji Qianmeng was stunned for a moment, and the power of space poured out. Appeared in front of Zhang Bingking in an instant. You are gone now. What about the north? Then what about Ye Chen? Zhang Bingking said it without thinking. He will have a way. That kid wants to escape, but no one can stop him. Under Ji Qianmeng's persuasion, Zhang Bingking gave up the idea. Returned to the front line to participate in the killing of alien beasts, and until now, the Frost Queen has not shown up. And Ye Chen is here. The golden light was like a ball, slowly expanding in Ye Chen's heart. From the initial size of a pigeon egg until it occupies the entire chest. This huge energy is eroding Ye Chen's body, disintegrating Ye Chen's body step by step like a raging flame. Just like the rising sun blade turned the body of the evil flood dragon into dust little by little. And the so-called Yangshan explosion is to destroy everything, and it has the same effect. Little Master feels that he doesn't need to die. Gyro, you'll be fine if you die. Ye Chen suddenly thought of something, raised his hand and released Bankai. Ye Chen, what did you do to me? The evil flood dragon felt a hot feeling coming from his tail. Although he couldn't see it at the moment, the sense of fear swept his mind. It was as if his body was disappearing at an extremely fast speed. It's nothing. My residual fire sword, the sunburst blade, has the rule that objects and lives touched by the tip of the blade will be turned into ashes. Ye Chen slowly explained the effect of the rising sun blade. While holding up Raijin Jaka, who released Bankai. A knife cut through his armpit. Ye Chen sucked in a breath of cold air on the other side. The evil flood king began to curse, and he had never thought about Ye Chen's method. That is to say, no matter how strong the opponent is, if they are touched by the tip of the knife, they will definitely die. Ye Chen gasped wildly. The long knife had come to the bottom of his neck. With blue veins on his face, Raijin Jaka slashed down and cut off half of his body. The huge pain caused Ye Chen to sweat coldly on his forehead. Bankai. Residual fire sword. Ye Chen endured the huge pain and once again Bankei's remnant fire sword point. Since the high temperature of 15 million degrees can break the Yanshan explosion, it should also be able to break the Yangshan explosion, right? Ye Chen was suddenly stunned. After the basketball-sized Yangshan burst out of his body, it quickly grew bigger and the light became more intense. The already dazzling golden ball of light made Ye Chen temporarily blind. Remnant. Fire sword east. Rising sun blade. Ye Chen raised the residual fire sword with the last strength point. A knife stabs out. Plunges into Yangshan burst point. The rules of the rising sun blade are indeed invincible, but the sun god blast is more or less related to the flame point. The residual fire sword and the sun god explosion collided with each other. Feeling the strength from the knife, Ye Chen was shocked. So far, this is the first time that the residual fire sword has not chopped anything, but Ye Chen didn't think much and gritted his teeth. Use all your strength. The final roar came out. Boom. Ye Chen was overjoyed. Hearing this voice, he thought that Yangshan Bang had been chopped up by himself. At this moment, the shards of the blade of the remnant fire Tachi slashed Ye Chen's cheek. Ye Chen was stunned. Suddenly a picture came to mind. Lying in the deep sea by himself, holding the broken remnant fire sword in his hand. It turns out, it was my own knife that shattered. It turns out, that's the future vision that I saw. With the shattering of the residual fire sword, the golden light was released. The entire yin and asterisk black matter was swallowed up by the golden light. When Ye Chen stepped into the space where the yin and gods exploded wearing the waning sun prison clothes, the entire Terran who was watching the live broadcast panicked. Of course they knew that flash of fire was Ye Chen. It was also clear that the 10,000 meter long worm was East Blue's strongest alien beast, the evil flood dragon king. Everyone expects Ye Chen to survive, but Ye Chen's figure is too small. From the live broadcast of the masses, only the evil Flood King towering above the sky and the last flame of flame can be seen. The entire human race is praying for Ye Chen, and a few seconds later, a golden light emanated from the black matter that was exploding. Midnight at 3 in the morning. A golden light came into the world. Take East Blue as a point and illuminate half of the blue star. The dazzling light attracted countless people to take their eyes away from their mobile phones. Only then did they discover the Battle of East Blue is already an existence that affects the world pattern. Not only the human race, but the entire blue star. Even some sleeping ancient existences opened their eyes under the attack of the evil Flood Dragon King. Demigod? No. This is the breath of the Holy Realm. But why can you use a demigod level attack? Is this the breath of the little dragon in that tiny land? Ridiculous. Dragon? Stupid creature. It seems that it is not an easy opponent to let that guy use Yin Yang divine explosion. After dozens of breaths, a gust of wind hit, and the entire East Blue was like the end of the world. Lightning flashes, and the wind blows. A huge golden sphere gradually became larger, and even swallowed the entire waste Geo of the evil Flood Dragon King. East Blue border. Countless trees, land and sea. Instantly swallowed by this huge ball. A strong wind started from East Blue and spread towards the whole world. With the backflow of the sea, the whole world trembled. Ye Chen used the last strength, the power of void, to run wildly. The wooden ball protected Ye Chen. Susanoo was placed on top of the ball, and a black substance appeared on top of Susanoo. This is Ye Chen's last defense. Can't stop it, just die. Ye Chen was smart and knew that he would appear at the bottom of the sea. Therefore, such a wooden ball with a lot of air in the middle was created. After doing all this, Ye Chen took out that drop of the fountain of life. He firmly held the porcelain bottle containing the fountain of life in his hand. Swallowing the fountain of life tremblingly, Ye Chen breathed a sigh of relief. He had foreseen his future, and now that he drank the fountain of life, high-speed regeneration and sage body also restored his body. If it's going to die like this, then there's really no way. Warm reminder, if you don't run away, you will die. The system came out with a playful sentence. Ye Chen's face changed greatly. What do you mean? That is to say, the future of seeing, hearing and seeing has not changed. After drinking the fountain of life, you will still die. I blame your uncle. What the hell is wrong with this evil Flood King? I still can't survive this. Chapter 162. Barely escaped. Ye Chen got angry and couldn't understand. He couldn't save his life in this situation. Please, I used all my cards. Okay. The first layer of protection for Sage body, the second layer of white power and armor, the third layer of wood style, the fourth layer of Suzo, and the fifth layer of armor color please. Fuck, I really can't think of anything that can break my defenses. The sun god explodes, and if you die, it will be a demigod level attack, but the residual fire is to shatter a lot of the rule energy after the shattering has been swallowed up, and now it is expected to have the power of a true god. A certain system reluctantly spoke again. Ye Chen is stupid. You mean I killed myself? Bing dog, that's right. Really smart, so it's the end. Ice dog, that's right again, don't fucking freeze it. I'm going to be fucking hard to freeze anymore. Who the hell are you with, system? Big brother, save others. Are you willing to let your lovely host die like this? None of my business, system. Big brother, you are the best, goosebumps are all over the place. It's okay, you motherfucker, the big brother of the system. I really deserve to be you. The secret realm beads that I gave you last time. Hide the secret realm. You can escape, but be mentally prepared. For the time being it's not coming back. The system's words made Ye Chen wake up. Right, what about this thing? Exclamation mark. Ye Chen took out the secret realm beads and poured spiritual power into them. Huh, where's the portal? The system is produced. Where is the portal? Fuck. Then how do I get back? When I'm in a good mood, I'll give you a ticket back. Ye Chen just wanted to complain. In an instant point a white light shone in front of his eyes. I am indeed the son of destiny. Another asterisk time travel. The alien beasts in the north have not received the East Blue battle report, so they can only retreat point at the moment. East Blue is in a mess, spreading 1,000 kilometers from the edge of East Blue to both sides. A huge pit formed the huge Daksha inland sea point. Beijunjian was the first holy place to arrive at the scene point above the sky. Beijunjian looked at the battlefield and fell into contemplation point. Tears fell from the corners of his eyes. Ye Chen, the terrifying smell of the explosion remained in place, and there was even a high temperature of thousands of degrees in the air. The war has passed for a few days. It is rare for the four saints of the human race to get together. Little boy, although everyone knew about this, they were unable to speak. It's my fault. I handed East Blue to Ye Chen. Beijunjian stood up abruptly and slapped his palm on the table point. The entire table shattered in an instant point. The other three saints did not speak point. Ji Kai and Meng is also very self-blame, always saying that Ye Chen is okay. Ye Chen is very strong. You have to trust Ye Chen, but I seem to have forgotten that Ye Chen is just an 18-year-old boy point. He should be living a happy, carefree life, not dying on the front lines of East Blue. Zhang Bingking didn't know how to speak. He once promised his father and big brother that Ye Chen would be fine, and now, in this situation, how should I explain it to my father, to my big brother? Although Shen Qiu hasn't seen Ye Chen yet, the name is all too familiar to him. Point the kid who got the meteorite. He has wanted to meet for a long time, but he has never had the chance. I didn't expect that this time. There is really no chance. I knew earlier. I should have done the math again. The old man died, and the boy Ye Chen was replaced. The atmosphere was very heavy, and everyone stopped talking point, and the demigods are still in seclusion. But the human race can be relieved without the powerful enemy of the Holy Land, Evil Flood King point. This is all thanks to Ye Chen. In Kyoto point, Ji Xiaodo and Fang Qingshan were sitting on the sofa, and the two were silent for a long time. I've decided, me too, to look at each other. I want to become stronger. I want to slaughter like beasts for brother Ye. The two of them said the same sentence very tacitly point between men. There is no need for so many tears. What's more, this thing can only be leaked secretly by one person. Let the brothers see it. How embarrassing. The West Wind Lion King transformed into a human figure and sat alone on the roof point. The moon is terribly round, and the outline of the moon is printed in the eyes of the West Wind Lion King. Master, why are you here? A little kid who looks only 6 or 7 years old, carrying a backpack and climbing a ladder to the roof point. The West Wind Lion King was slightly taken aback. Chen. Heyo, what are you doing here? Of course I'm accompanying you, master. Look, I brought you your favorite drink and potato chips. The little boy smiled and took out snacks and drinks from the backpack behind him. His eyes almost curled up with laughter, and the West Wind Lion King responded with a smile. It is good, Master. What are you thinking about? Fine, Master. I know you are thinking about Ye Chen, big brother, right? Are you? Kid, you are smart. It's okay. Ye Chen, big brother is so strong. It will be okay, Chen. Heo tilted his head and looked at the West Wind Lion King and said, point. The West Wind Lion King stretched out his right hand and rubbed Chen Heo's head. Yes, he'll be fine, Chen. Heo pouted against his will while enjoying the slaying of the Lion King. Master, don't rub it. Wait until the president is not tall. The West Wind Lion King smiled. No way. Then he turned his eyes to the moon again, the eagle soaring in the sky, although it came a little late, but I did it. The story of a lion and a little boy. At this moment, Zhang Daosheng, Lan Batian and the others were also sitting in the yard feeling unhappy. Basin is also in it. It can be said that, since Ye Chen agreed to join the sky, everyone's relationship has gradually warmed up. And now Ye Chen's sacrifice made everyone silent. The atmosphere became more and more depressed, and the laughter of the past were gone. Lan Lengshan regained his previous indifference, even ignoring his own father. Zhang Jiraiya is shutting himself in the house all day, not eating or drinking. At this moment, Ye Chen, who had changed into clean clothes, was walking down a street. This world is very similar to Bluestar, except nobody. Yes, no one. Ye Chen, who wandered around the city for hours, didn't see a single living person. PS. Next, open up the cosmic worldview. 3 ways to write. Everyone gives a suggestion. First, go to the galaxy, then go to the universe, the world of high martial arts. The second is, go to the plane, and then go to 3000 worlds. The third is, go to Gaowu first, then go to the plane. There is also the writing method of this small secret realm now, which is also divided into several types. One is to take advantage of the opportunity to open up the worldview. The second is to go through a cutscene as a copy. So give some valuable advice. Also, ask for a gift. Free gifts, gold coin gifts to walk around. As for big gifts, I don't think anyone would say no, but do what you can. Thank you for your support. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 163. Of course I am-039 am not like a bad guy. Ye Chen was wondering why there was no one. And the city is very well preserved, as if there were still people in the last moment. But the silence is frightening. Ye Chen silently found a hotel, went in, found a room, and fell asleep. There's no one there anyway. It doesn't matter. It was not until the evening that Ye Chen woke up from the bed. And the system has already sent today's rewards to the system space. As for when Ye Chen saw it, who knows? The first thing I do when I wake up is to look for something to eat in the back kitchen of the hotel. Ye Chen, who was looking around, finally found some steaks that were frozen in the cold storage. No matter what, he found a place to fry a little and finish the dinner beautifully. Only then did he sit on the bed and take out the Raijin Jacka saved in the system space. Raijin Jacka broken version repairable. Ye Chen is a little helpless. Broken is also a version. Open the repair interface and take a look at the list of materials required for repair. Sealed state a handful. Ye Chen was stunned for a moment, but it's gone. Is it so sloppy? Until Ye Chen wiped his eyes and looked intently again. 10 sealed state. Brother Tangzi, you are not kind. You speak sloppily yourself. Sloppy. Ye Chen rolled his eyes and said. After learning about Raijin Jacka's repair conditions, Ye Chen was also a little helpless. Although the system says 10 sealed states are required, Ye Chen knows. That's all he said. Let's talk about it. Isn't the so-called sealed state that he gave me? Ye Chen was standing on the top of the hotel's tall building. In this city, bright and bright, there are lights everywhere. The street lights, as well as the big screens on high-rise buildings, all turn on automatically. Ye Chen was in a trance. Is there really no one in this city? Or is there no one in this world? This Question haunted Ye Chen for a long time. In this world, spiritual energy is extremely abundant, at least 10 times more intense than Blue Star. If there are cultivators, the upper limit is probably much higher than that of Blue Star, but no one was found. The night sky is sparse. Ye Chen sat on the high building, staring at the moon in the sky. He finally found something wrong. Why is the moon red? Are you separated by this infinite Tsukuyomi? Exclamation mark. Ye Chen stared at the moon. The more he looked at it, the more wrong it became. Was the moon really red just now? If it's red, why? I didn't find out at first. Stay away from me. Don't. Come here. Get out. Ye Chen's ears instantly caught two voices, and information could be captured from the voices. These two are in danger. Ye Chen didn't even think about it, and suddenly appeared in front of the two of them. In front of the two girls, a strangely dressed man stood impressively. He was dressed in tatters, with scars all over his body, dirty and messy, and a large knife in his hand. The appearance of Ye Chen made the two girls seem to have found a life-saving straw. Behind them, there is a wall, and in front of them is a monster. Ye Chen looked at this strange creature carefully. I saw the creature suddenly speak. Brain split. Step by step, he walked towards Ye Chen and the two girls. The two girls were numb with fright before they escaped here. The way this monster slashed a man in half with one knife is still vivid in his mind. Thinking of this, the two girls rolled in their stomachs. Ye Chen sighed deeply. I thought it would be a peaceful world, but I didn't expect it to be weird. Habitually reached out, and this time, Raijin Jaka did not appear. Ye Chen shook his head with a wry smile. I'm really not used to it. In the eyes of the two girls, Ye Chen's movement seemed like a neuropathy. I thought I had found someone to save my life. But the monster walked towards Ye Chen step by step. The speed was getting faster and faster, and the flesh on his face was tossed. Ye Chen was shocked. I'm a fucking clean freak. This guy is so dirty. If he punched him, it's better to die. Putting his hands together, an emerald green wooden stick appeared. At the same time, the monster's sword was also cut off. Ye Chen smiled slightly, ran a wooden stick, and blocked confidently. Watch out. He ignores the block. The girl beside her suddenly exclaimed. Ye Chen looked back and blinked, his face full of disbelief. And the monster's big knife, as she said, cut through the wooden stick directly. You didn't fucking tell me sooner. I thought you knew. The girl was about to cry. Ye Chen quickly activated the power of void. He could dodge, but the two women behind him couldn't dodge. The armed color is also activated. Chang. A crisp voice came. The two girls with their eyes closed slowly opened their eyes and saw that the monster's long knife slashed Ye Chen's forehead. The void mask couldn't stop the opponent's attack and was penetrated. But the moment he touched his forehead, the armed color finally came into play. Ye Chen was so frightened that he almost jumped out. Void mask is also ignored. If it weren't for the armed color, it would really end. And the monster was completely stunned by this sudden scene. The huge anti-shock force made him retreat again and again. This is the first time he has encountered such a situation. Ignoring the block and penetrating the attack, he has not encountered anything that he cannot cut. Today, it turned over. I saw that he blinked, looked at the big knife in his hand again, scratched his head in confusion, and then chopped it down again. Ye Chen was instantly angry. Susanuma, Susanoo, I'll kill you. The Sharingan in his eyes emerged, and a dark blue skeleton appeared. A huge fist slammed down directly at the monster. Fuck you, Chop Laozi. After he finished speaking, he gave another punch and transformed into an arm again. Both arms took turns beating violently. After a while, Ye Chen looked at the mud on the ground and fell into contemplation. I going a little too far? The two girls behind Ye Chen were dumbfounded. Ye Chen turned around, took the mask on his face in his hand, and looked at the two girls with a smile. You alright? The two girls came back to their senses, their faces pale. We won't say anything. Don't kill us. Yes. Big brother, please let us go. The smile on Ye Chen's face stiffened. Do I look like a bad guy? Kind of. What? Not like. Big brother is not like. Of course I don't look like a bad person, because I'm just like that, Ye Chen said with a wicked smile, covering half of his cheek with a void mask. Chapter 164. Three Worlds. When the two girls saw Ye Chen's move, they fainted on the spot. Ye Chen wants to cry, but has no tears. What's the matter? I suddenly fainted. But it seems you were frightened by yourself. Am I so scary? The monster didn't stun them. I stunned them. Then two clones were summoned, and one carried a girl, and left here. Along the way, Ye Chen carefully looked at the surrounding scenery. Previously, I was concerned about saving people, although I noticed changes in the surrounding environment. But I didn't pay attention, and I didn't think about the reason. But now, after a closer look, I found it. The city that used to be bright and bright is now pitch dark. The streets that were originally full of lights were all paralyzed, and the only way to see things clearly was the moonlight in the sky. There was even a bloody smell in the air, the smell of rotting corpses. Ye Chen hated this situation the most. A world like hell. It all had to do with that bloody moon, and until that moon appeared, everything was normal. After walking through a dozen buildings, Ye Chen gave up the idea of finding a place to live. Because there is no place where people can live. I had to find a place and directly use wood style to build a house. Although a little shabby, it's better than nothing. After some unknown time, the two girls woke up. The first time I woke up, I glanced at my clothes, then pulled off my clothes, and glanced at my underwear. Then he breathed a sigh of relief. Do you really think I'm a bad guy? Ye Chen sat aside and watched the whole process. The whole person is really speechless to ultimate. I think I look pretty good. White and tender, clean hairstyle. Although there is no, but this does not prevent us from being handsome, right? Although I always forgot to say that Ye Chen is bald. But everyone knows about the bald head after using Raijin Jaka. After Ye Chen's voice sounded, the girl noticed Ye Chen's figure. Her little face turned red instantly. She just woke up and checked. The first thing she did. I understand everything. Don't worry, I'm not a good person. No, I mean I'm not a bad person. I just made fun of you. Who knows that you can't help. But the girl nodded when she heard Ye Chen's voice, indicating that she knew. She has seen a lot of bad guys do to other girls with her own eyes. She and another girl are pretty good looking. In this case, he didn't do anything to himself, so he wasn't a bad person. But, girl, have you ever thought that he doesn't like playing in a coma? Ye Chen, dog author, you should be a fucking person. Can you drive slower? Open the door and I'll get out. A certain author, welded. The brakes have just been removed, so I can do it myself. While talking to the girl, Ye Chen knew her name. Chen Mo. Sure enough, she was silent enough, and the other was her sister, Chen Wei. The names of the two people are just different strokes. It's just that Chen Mo, who is the elder sister, speaks less, and Chen Wei speaks more. After a brief exchange, Ye Chen understood the situation in this world. The real world, the normal world. The world seems to be normal, but no one can see the world. When Ye Chen first came, he was in this world. And the place where he is now is the inner world, and it is also the most dangerous world. Have you seen Silent Hill? The magic changed the world setting of Silent Hill. During the conversation, Chen Mo's stomach suddenly growled. I'm sorry, Chen. Mo's subtle voice entered Ye Chen's ears. Ye Chen was taken aback. What are you talking about? Being hungry is a normal physical need. As he spoke, he took out a lot of food from the system space, which Ye Chen picked up when he was in the hotel. At this moment, Ye Chen stared at a grid in the backpack space. Looking at the grid, I couldn't help wiping my eyes. F***ck. Brother Tongzi, are you playing with me? There was a sealed state in that grid. Ye Chen hurriedly opened the enhancement interface. The repair mentioned earlier was actually an alternative enhancement. Otherwise, if Bank A is broken, it cannot be repaired, and only the God of Swords can be found to recast Zanpakuto. But no matter what, the system is omnipotent. After clicking repair, Ye Chen was dumbfounded. Raijin Jaka broken version can be repaired. Repair conditions. Sealed state 10. Ye Chen wanted to cry without tears, but the system had already thought about it for him. In the end, because of my own stupid words, I gave it up. The aroma of the food also awakened Chen Wei, who was sleeping beside him. The moment Chen didn't wake up, he saw the food on the table. If nothing else, grab it and eat it. Ye Chen was dumbfounded. Looking so gentle, he devoured his food. Don't worry, there's more, Ye Chen said with a smile. Everything in the back kitchen of the hotel was removed by himself. It's just that I can't use the flame ability now, and I don't have a way to make a fire, so the frozen meat can't be taken out and eaten. Hearing Ye Chen's words, Chen Weike reacted and quickly protected his sister behind him. Ye Chen couldn't help but suddenly remember that scene when the monster knife slashed Chen Mo was pulling his clothes. While Chen Wei was holding his sister in his arms, Ye Chen was slightly taken aback. These two girls were quite interesting. He looks only 15 or 16 years old, and he has a good personality, but he is a little young. And many more! Exclamation mark. I think I'm only 18. Oh, forget it. Ahem. Inappropriate. Lolly or something. Ye Chen silently interrupted this thought. Is the world like this going on forever? Ye Chen took out a few more apples from the system backpack. He took a bite to himself and motioned the two girls to continue eating. Chen Mo gave Chen Wei a look and shook his head slightly, indicating that she was fine. Then explained it to Ye Chen. It's been 3 or 4 days. If you're lucky, you'll arrive in a world where you can't see others, and if you're unlucky, you'll appear in this terrible world. If you go back to the real world, there is a chance that someone will be. Ye Chen listened to Chen Mo's words. His face became a little gloomy. He understood in an instant. That is to say, the world collapsed in just 3 days. The supremacy of power has emerged, and the law is no longer subdued. Appearing in the real world, it will be topped by those beasts who would rather vent rather than die. When you appear in the watch world, you will experience the loneliness of a person, and you will not meet other people. If you appear in the inner world, you will be hunted down by monsters. This so-called secret place, what exactly is it? The system won't tell Ye Chen, and Ye Chen doesn't know for the time being. And one thing is clear, when Ye Chen gets the treasures of this world, he will get the chance to become a god. P.S. I've read everyone's comments, and I'm aware of them. I won't tell you what's going on next. But what I can tell you is that this secret realm is considered a dungeon transition. It's not a second where it's just coming over for a cutscene and grabbing something important. Mainly still Blue Star. Thanks for everyone's suggestions. And there is, come on for the college entrance examination. Chapter 165. The move to send you to hell. The chaos of hell. I don't know if it's Ye Chen's psychological effect or something else. Ye Chen always felt that the world in this film was not simple, not just the environment. And all kinds of monsters. What shocked Ye Chen was that these monsters mastered some rules. For example, the man with the big sword before ignoring the block. Can it be understood that his attack will only hit what he wants to cut? So everything else gets pierced through. Ye Chen walked in this weird world with two little girls, and from time to time a few monsters would jump out of the grass. There are various rules. For example, seeing this monster, if you turn around, he will instantly appear behind you. For example, when you look away from a monster, that monster will kill you until you look directly at him. These strange rules are not like the ones Ye Chen knew at Blue Star, but these rules are really strong. So strong that Ye Chen doesn't dare to be careless. Yes, Ye Chen is strong, but he can't ignore the rules yet. In Blue Star, only by comprehending a complete set of rules can one become a god. And in this world, the rules are only the skills of a little monster. Someone asked what Silent Hill is before. Silent Hill is a supernatural horror movie. The setting is more interesting, but for me, the horror level is average. If you are interested, you can watch it. Underage children remember to watch it in groups. Unconsciously in the inner world, Ye Chen had already killed an unknown number of monsters with two girls in a blink of an eye. 3 days had passed, and Ye Chen got 3 sealed states as a gift from the system. This made Ye Chen very helpless. That Sundeer system was definitely intentional, but Ye Chen didn't speak. In the past 3 days, Ye Chen didn't even use wood style much. He used the wood made by wood style to assassinate the enemy. Although the degree of sharpness is not very good, but a headshot can be considered a certain death. Ye Chen always felt that he was too reliant on the abilities given by the system, resulting in his lack of combat experience, so he deliberately did not use his abilities until 12 o'clock at night on the 3rd day. The blood red moon above the sky also disappeared. Ye Chen looked at the two girls beside him, his brows slightly wrinkled, his eyes suddenly flashed. Chen Mo and Chen Wei disappeared, and at the same time, many voices came from around him. I'm back, terrible, don't eat me, can someone save me? Ye Chen was stunned for a moment, and he actually appeared in the center of the city out of thin air. What's the situation? Chen Mo, Chen Wei, where are you guys? Ye Chen quickly released his spiritual energy to look for the two of them. Finally found the traces of the two girls in a corner. Taking a closer look, Ye Chen was burning with anger. Caught. Death. The power of emptiness was used instantly, and the sound turned instantly. A wooden thorn appeared in his hand, and a blow penetrated a man's head. Blood and brains splattered everywhere, and the mask on Ye Chen's face added many colors, but Ye Chen didn't care. He pulled out the thorn, divided it by 3 and 5, and killed it in an instant before the others could react. Killed. I don't know who was the first to shout this sentence. Countless people turned their attention to Ye Chen's side. Ye Chen is very angry now, looking at the two girls of 15 or 16 years old, now in ragged clothes. He silently took out 2 sets of clothes from the system backpack, and threw them to them. Then the hands were sealed, and a small wooden house wrapped the two of them in it. Looking indifferently at the crowd around, countless people's eyes revealed lust. There is also the fear of Ye Chen. Some eyes are full of despair and death. Ye Chen felt extremely uncomfortable. The blue star human race was so united, and here, do you human races only bully each other? Ye Chen thought of this. Killing intent manifested in his eyes, and Sharingan followed. Locked one by one with violent and lustful eyes. Ye Chen sneered, and his voice swept the entire square. Ha ha ha, it's really interesting. At the moment of disaster, there are always some scum exposing their nature. Since you are living to ruin other people's lives, why not let me free you? Ye Chen smiled and took off the mask, revealing a scarlet eye. Countless people were frightened by this look and stepped back. Everyone in the square was looking at Ye Chen. There were a few who heard Ye Chen's words and were not happy on the spot. Anyway, they won't necessarily be alive the next time they enter the inner world. Why don't they play for this uncle? That's it. The world is like this. What's wrong with playing? Several hooligans spoke up. Ye Chen's face became extremely gloomy. More and more people are opening their mouths to echo the words of these people. Ha ha ha, I have a move that I've always wanted to use. Ye Chen suddenly burst out laughing, and after saying this, his eyes seemed to be looking at a group of dead people. Give you a chance. Squat on the ground now, or die. Ye Chen's aura was like a ghost, staring at the men present. Funny to say, when the first man pinned a woman to the ground. Second, third, fourth, one by one. Anyway, others are like this, so what if I have one more? The inner darkness gradually aroused. Facing Ye Chen's words, countless men surrounded Ye Chen and the entire square. For them, they have seen monsters, and are they afraid of a person? How is this possible, brothers? Let's go together. Kill him, these women together. Before this sentence was finished, a giant tree sprung out from the ground instantly smashed his head. The emerald green light was a bit bright under the moonlight, and blood was still flowing from the giant tree. What is this? He's not human. Everyone run. Ye Chen smiled, and the smile gradually became presumptuous. The chaos of hell. When Ye Chen's voice fell, the big tree that had just emerged from the ground suddenly grew wildly. Ye Chen's Sharingan captured the group of men just now. The huge tree is like a killing machine. Just a few dozen seconds the emerald green tree was covered with corpses. Blood dripped on the ground along the emerald green branches. Ye Chen looked up at his masterpiece. It's really dirty blood. While speaking, Ye Chen turned and left, suddenly looking back at the remaining women in the square, as well as a few men with normal behavior. Don't be afraid, I'm not a bad person. A group of people stared at Ye Chen dumbfounded. Killing 1,000 people in 10 seconds. You are not a bad person, but it doesn't seem like a bad guy. It seems like it should be said, a bad guy who only kills bad guys. Chapter 166 The Gate of Rules. Looking at Ye Chen's leaving figure, it seems impossible to regard this weak boy as a devil who slaughtered so many people. But it did happen. Thanks. A girl hiding in the corner said suddenly. Ye Chen paused slightly, then quickly left. Thanks. There was a huge shout from behind. Ye Chen smiled slightly. After dismantling the HUD made of wood style, Ye Chen did not leave with Chen Mo and Chen Wei. The next thing I have to do is too dangerous. I need to find some supplies first, and when I enter the inner world next time, I will dig out all the secrets. When Chen Mo and Chen Wei came out, they looked at the huge emerald green tree standing in the square. Blood flowed, and they instantly understood. Just screaming. That's how it is with Ye Chen's departure. Chen Mo and Chen Wei did not catch up. After spending the past few days together, they also knew that the two of them had been holding back Ye Chen. They have been rescued countless times. It's safe to follow Ye Chen, but Ye Chen always likes to take the initiative to find things too exciting and not so good. When the sisters saw Ye Chen walking away, they just said thank you to Ye Chen from the bottom of their hearts. Ye Chen strolled down the street. This so-called real world is also somewhat deserted. It is said to be the 6th day, and the city is still neat. In other words, before this, no one has been to the real world, or the real world reset. Just like a game, a rule is customized, and after a certain point, everything returns to the way it was before. Ye Chen maintained a skeptical attitude towards these. After all, this weird world is really possible. Just find a place and have a good night's sleep. After all, somewhere else, there is no bed. So early the next morning, Ye Chen decisively put the bed into the backpack space. Well, now there is. Well, today's rewards have arrived. 6 sealed state. Ye Chen was stunned. 1 before, 3 later, 6 this time. That said, it can be fixed. Oh my god. Did the system show mercy today? Wrong. You did well yesterday. Ye Chen was dumbfounded. My dear, this system is too humanized, isn't it? I like. Hehehe. Silently clicked on Raijin Jacka's enhanced repair interface. Tap on the repair button. A golden light flashed. You can't give me something like, the reinforcement failed, your materials are scrapped or something? Ye Chen was a little speechless, and always felt that it was almost the same routine as some games. But how could a system be like that? Of course, the direct reinforcement was successful. Raijin Jacka strengthening demand. 100 million points enhancement content. No Shike state. Can easily use the fire ability. Hair is free from fire. It's basically the same as before, but without the old man's name. Ye Chen called out Raijin Jacka's name softly, stretched out his hand and shook it forward. The familiar feel reappeared. Sure. Enough. I'm still used to holding your hand. Raijin Jacka trembled slightly. You like being held by me too, don't you? I see. Raijin Jacka, can you speak more seriously? I strongly request a change of owner. I looked at my score again, and it was almost the same as before. The monsters in this world seem to have no points, but there are more than 80 million points, which come from the evil dragon that was killed. While Ye Chen was wandering around, the time slowly came to midnight. The bright moonlight gave off a red glow again. Luckily, I entered the inner world directly. 1 day. During the day, Ye Chen walked around the whole city, but found nothing strange. So Ye Chen felt that if he really wanted to do something, he would come out. You can't kill monsters one by one, so this time, Ye Chen is going to go crazy. Wood style wood clone. Ye Chen clapped both hands, and several Ye Chens behind him split instantly. But it's not over yet. Ye Chen didn't plan to have 5 clones. In a blink of an eye, 30 clones stood in front of Ye Chen. Ye Chen looked at 30 of himself and said solemnly, this time, I'm calling you out. The main task is to destroy. Have you seen the surroundings? Don't hesitate. Wooden Golem shouts out, hit whatever you see, especially those strange creatures. Do you understand? If you encounter people, try to let them die. Do you understand everything? Ye Chen, like a leader, instructed the subordinates. After speaking, the clones Ye Chen suddenly dispersed. Centering on Ye Chen's body, one by one summoned wooden golem, and began to slaughter everywhere. An hour passed, and the monsters in the entire city were almost dead. It's just that the urban environment is still a strange phenomenon. Ye Chen is a little helpless. This secret realm is so fucking complicated. And just after the last monster was killed by Ye Chen's clone. A pair of eyes suddenly opened over the city, and the huge eyes stared at Ye Chen's body. Ye Chen was also in a cold sweat the moment he was stared at. There is a voice in my heart telling myself that, if I look back, I will die, but the body turned slowly behind him. Ye Chen is anxious. What kind of power is this? Can you still control your body? The power of emptiness poured out of his heart. Ye Chen's strength soared several times, forcing himself not to turn around. But I found that my efforts didn't work at all. Ye Chen's mind was running wildly, looking for a solution. Not the flesh. That is, spirit. Thinking of this, Ye Chen activated Sharingan. The all-powerful eternal manger key, exclusive to Uchiha Madara, emerges. Ye Chen doesn't know about Uchiha Madara manger key's ability either. I heard that he is completely immune to illusions, and he has a bonus effect on the spells. If this is mental suppression or illusion, then using these eyes is definitely not a problem. Sure enough, the moment these eyes appeared, Ye Chen's body was out of control, and the pair of eyes above the sky also frowned slightly and disappeared behind Ye Chen. The rules that come with these eyes: anyone who looks directly at it will become his slave. But there is a premise, that is, only those who are controlled by him to turn and look directly at it will trigger this rule. After those eyes disappeared, Ye Chen also noticed that the dangerous aura disappeared, and finally heaved a sigh of relief. What followed was a huge blood red gate that fell from the sky. Ye Chen was stunned for a moment, then chuckled. Interesting. It seems that the answer I want is behind this door. Chapter 167 Crazy Blade King. A huge blood red giant gate descended from the sky. The lucky people who were lingering in the city all looked up at the giant gate. Miraculous existence. Ye Chen walked slowly to the giant gate, reached out and touched the giant gate slightly. The door seemed to sense something, and it opened itself to welcome Ye Chen's arrival. Interesting. Ye Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. Lift your foot into the giant door. In an instant, a pair of eyes hidden in the dark depths suddenly opened. The humans of this era come so fast. Know that this is the 6th day. That is to say, the growth in 6 days is enough to slaughter the monsters in the whole city. Before this, people in this world did not have any superpowers. Only some hot weapons could be used. But the man hiding in the darkness slowly shook his head, his eyes full of disdain. What? If it came so fast? A mere human, but also delusional to challenge the evil god. A joke. Then, he closed his eyes again, and the same thing happened elsewhere. When Ye Chen stepped into the door, the scene around him changed. Ye Chen carefully surveyed the surrounding situation. A closed space. The room is not big, but not too small. There was a man sitting on a chair in the distance, the big knife in his hand tightly clenched in his hand. Ye Chen was stunned for a moment, and muttered to himself, isn't this just letting me pass the level? It's an old routine. Ye Chen didn't panic, and walked slowly to a place not far from the chair, and the figure holding the big knife also suddenly opened his eyes and stood up. This era is very good. There are people who can get in here so quickly. The man said to Ye Chen, accurately speaking, I'm excellent, not the best of this era. Huh. The man was stunned by Ye Chen's words. I never imagined that there are such narcissistic people in this world. But also, this kid can enter the gate of rules at this time. It's really not easy. After 10 strokes under my hands, you can enter the next floor. Huh. So simple. The man holding the giant sword laughed at Ye Chen's words. Ha ha ha, simple. It's the first time I've been despised by someone like the Crazy Blade King. Boy. Ye Chen is a little speechless. How do you feel that the way these villains speak is really the same? Thinking of this, Ye Chen didn't say much. Raijin Jaka pulled out from his waist and pointed at the Mad Sword King. Isn't it a coincidence? I also use a knife. Try it. The Crazy Blade King was very angry at Ye Chen's frivolous and indifferent appearance. Boy, you will pay for this. Ye Chen took a step forward, and Raijin Jaka swung out with a knife. Shunpo flashed in an instant. Her head fell directly. What? A fucking rookie. I thought it was so awesome. Then, he walked towards the door behind the chair, leaving a headless corpse in place. This was arguably the easiest battle Ye Chen had ever fought. Just a knife, and the use of Shinigami's pace. A certain person named Chen has lived for 2 chapters, and your name is Wang, and you have lived less than 1,000 words. Shame. The next 9 levels are all a so-called king guard point, but for Ye Chen, it really lacks some challenge ability point until the 11th level. Ye Chen looked at the figure sitting on the chair in front of him, and fell into deep thought. Okay, I just said that you lived 1,000 words ashamed. I take it back. You lived at least 1,110 words. Boy, it's very strong. That knife just now showed my face. It's okay. Stop talking nonsense. How are you going to die? Ye Chen said impatiently, holding up Raijin Jaka. Don't worry, sit down and chat for a while. It's the first time I've seen a human who can make my first clone second. The crazy Blade King squinted and stared at Ye Chen. Ye Chen felt his gaze and felt a chill behind him. Raised Raijin Jaka and slashed towards the Mad Blade King. I'm sorry, I'm afraid I'll be turned by you. At the same time, in the depths, the body of the crazy Blade King was extremely excited. Interesting. How many years ago, someone can kill my 2 low-level clones with 2 knives. It's so interesting. At this moment, Ye Chen didn't know what kind of pervert he was being targeted by. But what puzzled Ye Chen was that the avatars in some levels seemed to have no self-awareness and couldn't even speak. The only person who can speak is the avatar of the King of the Crazy Blade in the first level. Ye Chen was a little surprised. If that's the case, level 21. Is that the Mad Sword King again? With such thoughts in mind, Ye Chen walked in nervously. The moment he entered the door, Ye Chen became anxious. You're here again. I've been waiting for you for a long time. It's you again. I know. Ye Chen was furious, holding Raijin Jaka and slashing out. This time the clone is obviously stronger than the previous one. The steps of Ye Chen and the shadow of the knife were already captured. Haha, how could I be hit 3 times with the same move? The crazy Blade King laughed and raised his blade to block Ye Chen's attack. In an instant, Raijin Jaka's sword was cut off by Raijin Jaka. Crazy Blade King. Porn. The face slap always comes so fast. Yes, you see it clearly. You block it, and you don't completely block it. Someone in the depths laughed wildly again. 3 times. Boy. Ha ha ha. It's so interesting. Ye Chen was in an uneasy mood and instantly killed the 9 concerned people behind him. Standing in front of the door of level 31, Ye Chen wanted to cry without tears. Faced with still have to face, push the door in. Boy, come again. Ye Chen heard the words without saying a word, mentioned Raijin Jaka, and charged forward again. And this time, the crazy knife at Shoku blocked Ye Chen's attack. Boy, you are so interesting. Can you be my contractor? How about it? Ye Chen didn't speak, staring at the crazy Blade King with only one sentence in his mind. That is, I'll fucking kill you. Through this first move, Ye Chen clearly noticed it. The 4th clone in front of him is no longer an existence that he can kill in seconds. If it is said that the first and second ones in the front are weak, then the 3rd one should belong to the physical body to keep up. But the equipment did not keep up. And now this 4th one belongs to the fleshly body to keep up. And the equipment is also good. So Raijin Jaka couldn't easily chop the opponent's knife. Hey, this time, you can't smash my knife, right? The crazy Blade King said with a smile. The 2 pulled their positions apart, and the crazy Blade King rushed towards Ye Chen again. Ye Chen looked at the crazy Blade King indifferently. A mask appeared on his face. His feet were naturally floating in the air, and he held Raijin Jaka in his right hand and pointed at the Mad Sword King. The toes moved slightly and disappeared in the distance in an instant. The face of the crazy Blade King changed greatly. Why did this kid suddenly change his breath, becoming violent, dark? Is this guy a demon? Exclamation mark. Chapter 168 Super Crazy Blade King. At the moment, when the crazy Blade King was distracted, Ye Chen's figure instantly appeared behind him. Too slow. Ye Chen's voice made the crazy Blade King stunned. Helplessly accepted the fact that his avatar was beheaded again. The difference between Shinigami's Shunpo and Zuzran's Huan is not even the slightest bit. One is fast movement and the other is teleportation. With the current state, Ye Chen easily reached the 41st level. This is also the 5th time Ye Chen has fought against the crazy Blade King. Ye Chen, who is already used to the crazy Blade King's nonsense, just lift the knife and let it dry. Do you think you can still kill me this time? The Crazy Blade King raised the knife behind his neck without saying a word and said proudly point. The next second, Ye Chen appeared in front of him and slashed down. Shit, you don't play cards according to the routine. Shouldn't you be behind me? Ye Chen's face frowned for a while. Is there something wrong with this melon child's head? Is it too self-righteous? What the Crazy Blade King thought was that when Ye Chen didn't put on the mask, his instant body appeared in front of him. Point. After putting on the mask, she was behind him. Point. After all, in this world, there are too many types of rules. However, Ye Chen doesn't understand. People in this world feel that their brains are not normal to say. It was in the 51st level to meet the Crazy Blade King again. Ye Chen is already numb. After all, he's used to it. Boy, can't you think of it? It's me again. There is good news and bad news. Which do you want to hear? Ye Chen completely ignored this guy and raised his knife again. Point. This time, the Crazy Blade King easily blocked Ye Chen's attack. Let me tell you, the good news is that this king cannot kill you. The bad news is, Ye Chen was speechless. The bad news is that you deserve to die. Everything is ashes, or la ashes. Raijinjaka. The two people who were in a stalemate hadn't talked for a while. Ye Chen directly shook a Raijinjaka. A stream of heat hit his face. Point. The huge flame instantly fused the big sword in the hand of the Crazy Blade King. Point. Cut down with one sword. The king of the mad sword. Point. Crazy Blade King's body is already stunned. Point. What's the situation? Knives set fire, and the fucking melted my knife, but it's okay. Next time I will be stronger. Ye Chen jumped to level 61 again. The Crazy Blade King was about to speak when Ye Chen slashed out. Torch. I haven't said a damn thing yet. The king of the mad sword. Point. 71. Hot hell. Let me say a word. Just say a word. The king of the mad sword. Point. 81. Kit, you are very strong, but I in the 81st level already have 2 layers of strength of the main body. What the hell? I'll say something. Ye Chen stabbed Songming with a knife, and the Crazy Blade King hurriedly dodged. Point. As he said, he already has the strength of 2 layers of the main body. Point. The 91 level is the strength of the 5th floor. After the end of the 100 layers, Ye Chen faced the real bodies of the 10 human kings said to be the real body, said to be the king. In fact, they are just 10 poor people trapped in the gate of rules, and every time a person passes the 100 floors, he can choose to take a king as his contract subordinate. Point. The reason why the other clones do not speak is that they are just projections, not clones. The Crazy Blade King is different. His body is still in the gate of rules. Finally, why wasn't anyone taken away? You know what? This guy's mouth is too cheap. When the king of Crazy Blade saw Ye Chen and didn't intend to listen to him, he instantly activated his true power. A touch of golden light appeared on Crazy Blade King's body. Super Saiyan. Ye Chen frowned slightly. Point. There's something wrong with this storyline. What is a Saiyan? I'm the Mad Blade King in Super State. It's referred to as the Super Mad Blade King. There was wind under the Crazy Blade King's feet, and while killing Ye Chen, he shouted angrily, in this state, I will be twice as strong as I'm under normal circumstances. Ye Chen held his breath and suddenly let go. Point. A long sigh sounded. I hope you can make me happier next time. Ye Chen's eyes suddenly opened, and a touch of Sharingan appeared. Point. Raising his sword, his eyes narrowed slightly. Torch. Following Ye Chen slash at Tsukuyomi also used it against the Crazy Blade King. It's useless. Don't you understand? I can easily avoid this move. The Crazy Blade King laughed a few times. Suddenly something was wrong. Point. Space changed. I'm tied to a cross. What's the situation? What is that kid doing with a needle? He wants to kill me with this thing. Ye Chen sighed deeply, and a silver needle stabbed towards the Crazy Blade King's eye. Point. Immediately through the entire brain. Point. The Crazy Blade King opened his eyes again, and Ye Chen appeared again. Point. The same plot. He sighed again, and a silver needle shot his head again. Point. And a second later, Crazy Blade regained his sanity from Tsukuyomi's 24-hour experience card. Point. In an instant, he was in a trance. Point. What caught my eye was the fire tornado again. Point. Crazy Blade King is stunned. Is this thing familiar? Damn, isn't this the kid's killer move? Ye Chen smiled slightly. He had already figured out how all his abilities should work together to achieve the maximum gain. Point. For example, Madara's eyes can be used to instantly add buffs to her moves. About 1/3 of the buffs Itachi's Tsukuyomi is used to influence the battle for that second. Amaterasu. Forget it. The flame of this thing is not temperature. He is more like devouring. Shisu's distinguished heavenly gods. The price of blindness. Forget it. As for Sasuke's flame control, don't make a fuss. It's not 100% of the residual fire. Camus? Forget it. Laugh to death. Not at all. Simply put, it's the current role of Sharingan is to put a layer of armor on the Buddha, but what Ye Chen is looking forward to is the next strengthening of Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan. What a surprise. Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan without Camus enhanced demand. 1 billion points enhancement content. Strengthen mental power. Add Camus. That's right. Additional Camus. Ever since he fought against the evil Flood King, Ye Chen was well aware of his underestimated enemy and put himself in a big crisis. If at that time I had used Tsukuyomi on the evil Flood King and killed him with the residual fire sword, now I don't have to appear in this strange world and I'm inexplicably entangled by a foolish critic. In fact, the crazy Blade King didn't want this either. He was originally a talker. And the other 9 human kings who were trapped here like him have been taken away. The human race supreme tower. There is only one living person left. After finally seeing Ye Chen, I must have wanted to chat with Ye Chen more. Chapter 169 Crazy Blade King and -039's weird ability. This world, every once in a while, there will be a new reincarnation. Just like the script. 10 new human kings will appear, and new evil gods will appear controlling new rules and new reincarnations. How long has this been going on? No one can answer this question. It's been too long. I just vaguely remember, probably since that beat appeared. Ye Chen simply solved the follow-up king of humans for him. It was simply not too simple. After all, it's just some unconscious existence, until Ye Chen stepped into the 91st floor. Ye Chen looked at the crazy Blade King with a terrifying aura on his body, his face slightly solemn. The crazy Blade King in front of him already possesses the strength of a semi-holy, plus his secret technique, which is the so-called super state. So what kind of strength will his body be? Above the Holy Land. What? My strength is starting to make you feel depressed? The crazy Blade King squinted at Ye Chen. Now this clone has 50% of the strength of his own body. Having stepped into the semi-holy realm, the crazy Blade King has absolute confidence. Ye Chen can't beat himself now. The premise is that he has no stronger moves. Ye Chen stared at the crazy Blade King, took a deep breath and sighed. Do you know that you're annoying? When the crazy Blade King heard this, he laughed instead of being angry. Ha ha ha. After so many years, someone finally said I was bored. So happy. The crazy Blade King, who was laughing wildly, suddenly had a murderous look in his eyes and pointed it out. Die. Ye Chen was stunned for a moment, because when crazy Blade King's words appeared, a hole appeared in his heart, but Ye Chen didn't care. In the state of virtual power, he laughed to death. No heart at all. Even if there is a heart, with the characteristics of this sage body, the head can still be alive. Interesting. What kind of ability do you have? Ye Chen narrowed his eyes and became interested. Seeing that Ye Chen wasn't injured, the crazy Blade King thought his moves were interesting and thought that this kid was finally willing to talk to him more. My abilities? Want to know? Said with a proud face, and then quietly waited for Ye Chen's next sentence. I even thought about it. Ye Chen said, please, I want to know, and so on. Well, if you don't want to say it, forget it, Ye Chen said indifferently. Ye Chen made the crazy Blade King fall into contemplation with just one sentence. Is it because I haven't spoken to anyone for too long, or is this kid he can't chat, or is this the way of chatting outside now? At the moment, when the crazy Blade King was contemplating, Ye Chen lifted Raijin Jaka and instantly killed the crazy Blade King. Torch. Don't make these uncreative moves, right? The crazy Blade King slashed out, and a gust of wind formed a tornado, which collided with the flame tornado that appeared in Songming. Ye Chen was also stunned by the madness of the crazy Blade King. This is the first time I've seen Songming's move like this. Songming is not a fire gushing from the ground like a hot hell, but a tornado mixed with the flames of Raijin Jaka. This crazy Blade King has seen it twice, and he can easily crack it, which is indeed a full-fledged coping ability. Your move has good lethality, but it's not adaptable enough. The King of Crazy Blades teased. For him, such an attack can be done easily by himself, but he does not have the ability to fire. Otherwise it is really easy. Oh. What about this trick? Hot hell. Ye Chen stood on the spot without any movement. Dozens of pillars of fire suddenly burst out from the ground. This trick is interesting, but have you forgotten? You have used it before. The crazy Blade King widened his eyes and swung out another blade, obviously not touching anything. Dozens of fire pillars to the sky, disintegrated instantly. Dozens of fire pillars that reached the sky disappeared without a trace, as if they had never appeared, leaving only dozens of potholes on the ground. Ye Chen was stunned. Why is this? What's the situation? If Songming has been cracked, is this understandable? And this can also be cracked. You look great. I guess you must be wondering why now. Ye Chen did not answer the words of the crazy Blade King but the expression has deeply betrayed him but Ye Chen just didn't speak, which made the King of Crazy Blade more and more superior. Why doesn't this kid ask his own abilities? Damn it. The crazy Blade King, who was getting more and more depressed, suddenly snorted and swung his sword out. Left hand. Ye Chen hasn't reacted yet. On his left hand, the clothes burst instantly, and a crack appeared on the arm. The crazy Blade King is stunned. What the hell? Although it was a knife he made casually, but his arm didn't bleed at all. Ye Chen is also stunned. What the heck? Did your clothes explode in an instant? Injured hand? Just because he swung a knife? Ye Chen no longer ignores the crazy Blade King. He can silently chop off his arms and his head. Boy, I admit that your body is good, but people have weaknesses. After the crazy Blade King said this, he slashed out left eye. Ye Chen hurriedly dodged. The speed was faster than the speed of sound. But there was blood gushing out of his eyes. Ye Chen is stunned. Can't he escape? Ye Chen, who lowered his head and thought about the opponent's abilities, covered his left eye and stared at the crazy Blade King with his right eye. Boy, haven't figured out my abilities yet? I've already exposed so much. Ye Chen was silent. This guy's not strong, but his moves are even stranger than his own. Thinking of this, Ye Chen took Raijin Jaka back into the scabbard. Hands together. Huh. Boy, you finally figured it out. Would you like to have a good chat with me? The crazy Blade King was overjoyed. In his opinion, Ye Chen put his hands together and bowed in the next second. And the truth is always crueler. Sage. Artwood style true. Several thousand hands. Ye Chen got off his horse, and a huge head gushed out from under his feet. In this secret realm, Ye Chen used such a bug-filled move for the first time. The King of Crazy Blade is stupid. From the floor under his feet, wood continued to pour out. Ye Chen's figure is also getting taller and taller, and the Crazy Blade King can only keep retreating in this wood style until the true body of true several thousand hands appeared. The crazy Blade King stood in front of the great Buddha. I'll be good. I suddenly feel that my ability is not good. At this moment, the crazy Blade King was like a bumpkin, looking at the giant Buddha and swallowing. This is too handsome, but he is not a fool. Seeing Ye Chen using such a trick, he immediately reacted. The familiar golden light enveloped the whole body, and the super state crazy Blade King appeared again. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 170. As far as the eye can see, the shot can hurt. Boy, the move is very handsome, but unfortunately, it doesn't work for me. The super state crazy Blade King shouted at Ye Chen on the top of the Buddha. Whether it's useful, you'll know if you try it. Ye Chen opened his eyes abruptly, and the left eye that had just been injured had recovered to its original state with the blessing of the super speedy birth bug. Ah, your eye's okay? Crazy Blade King said jokingly. Then, this time, the right eye is fine. This time, the crazy Blade King did not wave his sword, but pointed it out. Ye Chen's face changed dramatically. Something pricked his eye suddenly. The eyeball exploded instantly, and the pain this time was even more painful than the left eye that was just cut by the knife. Ye Chen doesn't understand why. My own Buddha is 30,000 meters long. Even if it is an attack, it will take a long time to attack itself. Why did he just say that? Then you can meet me. This time, Ye Chen was dripping with cold sweat. What kind of ability is this? So fucking weird. Ye Chen didn't think about it anymore. The top priority now was to kill him, otherwise he would be killed. True. Several thousand hands. Become a Buddha on the top. Ye Chen manipulated thousands of wood-style arms to smash at the Crazy Blade King. Crazy Blade King's face also became unhealthy. Is it too much? I'm strong, but I'm not strong enough to take down thousands of mountains at the same time. He's meowing. Laozi admits, I can't take it. But I can get revenge on you, crotch. The Crazy Blade King was furious and roared and slashed out. Ye Chen panicked. Fuck, you old man, you don't talk about martial arts. Hahaha, you kid will be anxious too. The King of Crazy Blade became anxious when he saw Ye Chen and immediately laughed. After laughing, the King of Crazy Blade was smashed into meat patties by thousands of slaps, and Ye Chen felt cool with the pain in his crotch. Looking sharply at his crotch, he saw a crack appear. Ye Chen breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, still. Damn it, Mad Blade King. Fortunately, there is steel skin in this wave, which successfully blocked most of the power. Although Ye Chen has a super fast birth, he really dare not think about it. Thinking what? You said the regrown is the original one. Ye Chen, who had never smoked before, suddenly wanted one. Sitting on top of the big Buddha, Ye Chen pondered for a long time. Ye Chen was thinking about whether to chop that guy up or not. After a while, Ye Chen stood up abruptly. This kind of thing. If I don't take revenge, I can still be a man. Mad Saber King, wait for me the fuck. Thinking of this, Ye Chen directly carried Raijin and walked towards the next level. The more you think, the more you get angry. The more you think about it, the more you get angry. Bankai. Ye Chen, who walked to the next floor, immediately went directly to Bankai with the residual fire sword in hand. Ye Chen, who was already angry, was getting faster and faster in this place, except for the main body of the Crazy Blade King, which is inside the Gate of Rules. The clone is conscious, the others are just projections, and they are not as sensitive as real people to the perception of danger. Ye Chen turned around in a flash, and the tip of the knife touched the opponent's body lightly. Then confidently walked to the next floor until the door of concern on the 100th floor. The 15 million degree high temperature on Ye Chen's body made the door of rules a bit of a headache. Not everyone can handle this temperature, right? The main body of Crazy Blade King was already standing on the top floor waiting for Ye Chen. Originally the last layer should be to choose one of the 10 clones to fight against the main body, but how? There is only one Mad Sword King left here. Yo. This person is very familiar. How is it? Is your little brother alright? Oh, I shouldn't have asked you, girl. Don't worry, big brother will definitely find some strong men for you. The Crazy Blade King was sitting on a chair and saw Ye Chen pushing the door in. Then began his performance. Ye Chen's face was gloomy and he stared at the Crazy Blade King. You're dead. As I said, the Jade Emperor can't save you. Huh. It's so hard for you to hit a clone of me and you still want to hit my body. When the King of Crazy Blade heard Ye Chen's words, he laughed instead of being angry. Ye Chen clenched the remnant fire sword in his right hand and turned the blade slightly. Kunho. Tadeo has a bad temper. You can do it yourself. Remnant. Fire sword north. Ashes of heaven and earth. Without waiting for the Crazy Blade King to speak again, Ye Chen waved his blade and stood up. A knife goes from left to right, and the hand speed is as fast as ultimate. A flame flew out instantly. Crazy Blade King was taken aback for a moment. This speed and this temperature. Seriously, but the Crazy Blade King was not in a hurry. He held the big sword in his backhand and swung it out. Boy, this move is useless to me. I saw the King of Crazy Blade staring at the flame with flames. Ordinary to ultimate flames. The Crazy Blade King didn't know why, but he always felt that the ordinary attack would instantly kill him. Although not in a hurry, but cautiously. Suddenly, the ashes of heaven and earth that Ye Chen used disappeared instantly, as if they had hit something. So, Ye Chen noticed some details this time. Sharingan has been hanging in his eyes. In order to find the ability of the Crazy Blade King, everything you can see can be attacked by you out of thin air. Right. A very familiar ability. I remember that before. I met someone who could cut what I wanted to cut, and now I have met someone who can cut what I want. I don't think you should be called Crazy Blade King. You should be called Bei for Base Han Wang or something. The King of Crazy Blades narrowed his eyes slightly when he heard what Ye Chen said. Yes, you are half right. Why don't you try to find out my other half ability, brain? The moment Ye Chen heard the Crazy Blade King's words, his face suddenly changed. Before the Crazy Blade King made a move, he roared, "Your ability does not need to read out the attack position. Are you humiliating me?" The Crazy Blade King, who was about to start, was stunned. As Ye Chen said, his ability does not need to be read out, which is why he can become the so-called king of the human race. The ability is too strange, and countless people are in his hands, and they don't know how to die. In order to cover up his true abilities, he even named himself the Crazy Blade King. The King of Crazy Blade looked at Ye Chen and suddenly smiled. Come on, real fight. During the speech, the big sword in the hand of the Crazy Blade King suddenly disintegrated, and what appeared in front of Ye Chen was a long sword about the size of the remnant fire sword. Ye Chen is not surprised. He guessed right. If it is like the attack method Ye Chen guessed, then his knife must be fast. On Ye Chen's side, the power of void was silently running, and then a black substance climbed up and down his body. The King of Crazy Blade looked at Ye Chen, who was completely black in front of him, and suddenly he was not used to it. Originally the bald head was very bright, and now it has become even brighter, still black and bright. Chapter 171 Ye Chen and -039's death, the finale. False. The scene became very subtle. Ye Chen, who used to love wearing black clothes, now even his face and hands are black. This made the Crazy Blade King a little uncomfortable, and a good looking little white face suddenly turned black. You should have felt how high the temperature of the residual fire sword is. Before you die in the high temperature, it is best to kill me, Ye Chen said lightly, as if to say a very simple thing. The Crazy Blade King Wen Yan also glanced at the knife in Ye Chen's hand, and smiled slightly at the corner of his mouth. This ability is really rare. When I first fought, I thought there was nothing weird about this knife. At most, it is a little sharper, but until the knife emits flames, the whole person of Crazy Blade King will laugh out loud. So much fun. Well, if your attack is attached to flames, from another point of view, the rules of what you can see can be hurt by the residual fire sword plus the King of Crazy Swords, as long as it cannot withstand the existence of 15 million degrees of high temperature. It will be killed with one blow. After Ye Chen learned about Crazy Blade King's abilities, envy flashed in his eyes. Your ability is very strong, but you can't hit me. The Crazy Blade King shook his head and looked at Ye Chen contemptuously. Ye Chen didn't speak, and Shunpo used it instantly, moving quickly towards the Crazy Blade King. Crazy Blader Chaku looked at Ye Chen. He knew that, if Ye Chen was close to him, the temperature would get hotter, so one of the most important things now is to keep Ye Chen away. Thinking of this, the Crazy Blade King looked at Ye Chen's feet. The long knife was waving in his hand. 3 knives slashed on Ye Chen's legs. Chang. The crisp voice sounded, and the Crazy Blade King was slightly taken aback. Looking closely, Ye Chen's feet were not injured at all. If you can only use this level of attack, you will die here today. Ye Chen's eyes revealed a strong killing intent. The Crazy Blade King made fun of himself time and time again, and even used his nasty moves. This made Ye Chen have the will to kill the King of Crazy Blades. Moreover, the ability of the Crazy Blade King is too terrifying. If I can make a rule like me, I can't even think about it. Ye Chen's swordsmanship has reached its peak, and Ye Chen's previous swordsmanship has been inherited by old Yamamoto. The Crazy Blade King, who was close to Ye Chen, fought back and forth with Ye Chen. The Crazy Blade King kept avoiding Ye Chen's every blow, every knife. The situation is very passive for the Crazy Blade King. Because the Crazy Blade King always felt that, if he was cut by that knife, he would die. His sixth sense has always been strong, so he carefully avoided every attack from Ye Chen. As for the back and forth, that's because the Crazy Blade King's attack doesn't need to touch Ye Chen's body. So it can really be regarded as a fight back and forth. Ye Chen is also helpless. The speed of the Crazy Blade King is too fast, but the attack does not do much damage. With his own armed color and steel skin, he can't break the defense. Thinking of this, the Sharingan in Ye Chen's eyes bloomed again, and he needed to find the next move of the Crazy Blade King. At this moment, Ye Chen was stunned. Why are there two Mad Sword Kings? I saw the Mad Knife King with a more virtual figure. With a slight smile on the corner of his mouth, and a knife stabbed at his eyes. Why? Isn't the King of Crazy Blades' attack not required to touch himself? Ye Chen's pupils contracted violently, and he panicked for a second. Boy, how dare you be distracted. The moment the Crazy Blade King saw Ye Chen's flaws, he raised the long knife and stabbed Ye Chen in the eyes. Ye Chen woke up suddenly. Is that future vision? I saw. Thinking of this, in Ye Chen's eyes, Sharingan suddenly changed to Manger Key Pointer Susanoo instantly attached to Ye Chen's body. Chang. The clash sounded again. Ye Chen didn't understand why he could attack me without touching himself, but he insisted on attacking. There is only one reason for his existence at this level, to make such a move. That is, when his attack touches the opponent, there will be additional bonuses or effects. The King of Crazy Blades was stunned. This blue guy has such a high defense point. Although his knife is not as pervert as Ye Chen, he is one of the original kings of this world. Point his own sword must be one of the best in the world. Point. Although it wasn't his own full blow, he shouldn't even be able to pierce this thing. Ye Chen stood in Susanoo's forehead, and Susanoo dissipated. Ye Chen slowly floated down from the sky, tapped the ground with his toes, and said forcefully, "It's been a minute, and if you don't kill me, you're going to die." The Crazy Blade King didn't care at all. Having lived for so many years, what is there to be afraid of dying? It's you who amazes me time and time again. I'm satisfied to be able to fight against a master before I die. Speaking of this, the Crazy Blade King's eyes became fierce. The golden light radiated from the body, and as the golden light became more and more bright, a touch of white light suppressed the golden light. The black hair on Crazy Blade King's head suddenly turned white. Ye Chen stared intently at the Crazy Blade King, carefully watching his state. This should be his super state, but unlike the clone is golden, while he is white. You said before, I can cut what I see, right? The Crazy Blade King suddenly said. Ye Chen was puzzled. Isn't it right? I remember what I told you? I said you were only half right. A wicked smile appeared on the corner of the Crazy Blade King's mouth. Do you know? Among the 10 kings of the rules, the strongest is never the Uranus they are after, but me, the King of Crazy Blades. Ye Chen's expression changed slightly. The Crazy Sword King in this state had a more terrifying aura than the evil Flood Dragon King at that time. And the Crazy Blade King doesn't have to deliberately say so much nonsense to Ye Chen at this time. There was only one possibility, and what he said was true. What is your ability? Ye Chen asked hoarsely. He felt a trace of fear, and this feeling had never appeared once when he faced the evil Flood King. And now, in front of the Crazy Blade King, it actually appeared. Since you asked sincerely, then I will tell you mercifully, but it has to wait until after your death. The Crazy Blade King smiled evilly. In his heart, when he used his true abilities, Ye Chen was already a dead person. Ye Chen's eyes were dazed, and he saw another Crazy Blade King. The Crazy Blade King laughed and shouted out 2 words, swung a knife, and then fell to the ground. What is it? Why? Why would you die? Those 2 words, what is it? Ye Chen recalled the mouth shape of the Crazy Blade King that he saw in the future vision. Constantly imitating brain. His ability is to cut what he wants to cut, not to cut what you can see. Brain. The Crazy Blade King laughed angrily and swung his knife out. Ye Chen's eyes widened. He lay down straight, and the residual fire sword in his hand disappeared. Ye Chen, breathless. Chapter 172. My name is Ye Chen. Is a Shinigami. Ended. Seeing Ye Chen lying down straight, the Crazy Sword King silently retracted his sword. In the battle between people, the Crazy Blade King has always been an invincible existence. The heights are too cold, and when one's own abilities are truly used, as long as the flesh is still not God, he will die. No matter how strong a person is, his brain must be fragile. The Crazy Blade King slowly walked to Ye Chen. Reach out and close Ye Chen's eyes. You are strong. You are a strong. I really want to know your name, but unfortunately, the person who died at my hands is not qualified. The Crazy Blade King turned and left, feeling a little pity in his heart. It's a pity that a strong man died in his hands again. It's a pity that a good knife naturally disappeared. It's a pity that no one talks to me anymore. It's a pity I have to let you know my name today. The Crazy Blade King was about to walk back to his throne to continue sleeping, but was stopped by a voice behind him. In an instant, Crazy Blade King's eyes were full of disbelief. He should be dead. His breath has disappeared. The vital signs are gone too. Why? Why is he alive again? Wait, there is no life behind you. The Crazy Blade King turned his head abruptly and saw Ye Chen's body still lying on the floor, and the long-haired man standing on Ye Chen's body was wearing a Death Tyrant outfit with Raijin Jaka on his shoulders. The Crazy Blade King was stunned. Is this Ghost? Thanks to you, or I really don't know, that I can break out of the body like Ichigo and become a real Shinigami. Ye Chen carried Raijin Jaka and looked at the Crazy Blade King and said point. And when he finished saying this, he glanced at his body again. He sighed deeply and shook his head. Looks like my body is dead. The Crazy Blade King's scalp was numb after being manipulated by Ye Chen. About the dead person turning into a ghost to seek revenge on me? Ah, you a human or a ghost? The Crazy Blade King fiercely pulled out his long sword and scolded. Me. My name is Ye Chen. As things stand, I'm a Shinigami. Shinigami. The word echoed in Crazy Blade King's mind, and then he questioned Ye Chen with a pale face. You are one of the evil gods? Then how can you enter the gate of the rules of the human race? Oh, you mean there is still the gate of the evil gods rules? Ye Chen asked back. Crazy Blade King frowned. This guy seems to really know nothing. These rules. Shouldn't the consciousness of heaven tell the whole human race when someone steps into the gate of rules? Why didn't this kid hear? In fact, after Ye Chen slaughtered the monsters in the entire city, the consciousness of the Tower of Heaven appeared. He wanted to control the variable Ye Chen in the simplest way, a variable that did not belong to this world. However, its ability is not strong enough, and it can only control Ye Chen within the rules. Those eyes. After that trick was cracked by Ye Chen, the heaven in this world had nothing to do with Ye Chen. Ye Chen moved his current body, although there was no sage body bonus, but there is a strange feeling. It seems that the power of Shinigami and the power of emptiness can be fully exerted only after being separated from the body. After all, Zu and Shinigami belong to the spiritual body without physical body in the bright sense. But there is still another question. That is, if the body dies, what should I do in the future? It's just so depressing. Okay, it's fine when you come, and it's dead when you go back. Ye Chen even thought about the chat with everyone after he went back. Hey guys, I'm back. Tell you something awesome. I'll tell you, I'm not a human being. I'm a ghost now. Bah, no, I'm Shinigami now. It's scary to think about. Seeing that Ye Chen didn't say a word, the Crazy Blade King took the initiative to break the peace. I don't know what your situation is, but you should know one thing. You can't beat me. After Ye Chen heard the words of the Crazy Blade King, he didn't take it seriously. I'm thinking, does your knife have the right to cut the soul? If not, I advise you to choose a method of death. Ye Chen said teasingly, with a fierce look in his eyes. This guy is sure to die. The first time I wanted to be a daughter, and the second time I killed my body, but fortunately, since he can appear in the state of Shinigami, it means that he still has the possibility of resurrection. After all, we have a system in a certain system. Really convinced you have guessed everything. But it's not a big problem. Who made you, Ye Chen? Cut the soul? Who told you that I don't have the right to chop the soul? The Crazy Blade King smiled contemptuously and slashed out. Blood spurted out of Ye Chen's spiritual body instantly. Ye Chen was stunned. Is it really possible? In this case, it can't go on. The spirit body does not have the sage body quality of the physical body. Immediately, the power of void was running, and a huge pothole appeared in Ye Chen's heart. The Black Death Tyrant outfit has many white stripes. The pale mask had several red stripes. Bankei. Residual fire sword. These things were all done in an instant, because Ye Chen had already felt that the other party was indeed qualified to attack the spirit body. If he was beaten to death under his spirit body, he would really die. Raging flames gushed out of Ye Chen. The entire space is like a sea of fire. Your flame is strong, but it's useless to me. Crazy Blade King's eyes were hot. He wanted this knife so much. Really? How about you try my strongest blow? The voice fell, and the Crazy Blade King slashed out, smashing Ye Chen's head again. But in the spirit state, His body is completely composed of spiritual power, and with the super fast and fast life of the power of the void, the shattered head recovered instantly. In Shinigami, being crushed will also kill you, but unfortunately this is not Shinigami. The author says it, ha 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 ha, before. My spiritual power are finished. I'm immortal. Remnant. Fire Sword South. HUO 10 trillion dead burial array. Ye Chen roared at the crazy Blade King. The residual fire sword in his hand suddenly turned around. The hot residual fire blade was inserted into the ground, and in an instant, the flames rose into the sky. The entire space glowed with fire, and the ground flowed like magma. Skeleton arms stretched out from the magma, the ashes of the dead who were awakened by the remnant fire. The function of the HUO 10 trillion death cemetery is to awaken the ashes of the dead who died in Ye Chen's fall, and turn them into a charred army of skeletons that Ye Chen regards as the enemy endlessly. The crazy Blade King was stunned for a moment, and flew towards the air. If you want to kill me by such means, then you are too ridiculous, right? Just as the crazy Blade King finished saying these words, the entire ground shook for a while. Countless magma poured out from the ground. 1,000-meter skeleton dragon, staring at the crazy Blade King. With thousands of alien beast bones behind him. Chapter 173. The death of the crazy Blade King. Crazy Blade King was stupid at that time. What is this? Dragon? Does such a thing really exist? And the skeletons of all kinds of alien beasts followed behind the charred skeleton dragon also made the crazy Blade King's scalp numb. You shouldn't be able to crack this trick, right? Ye Chen's voice came from a distance point, but he himself hid in the magma, with the help of countless small alien beasts, to confuse his sight. When hiding in the magma, he did not forget to put his corpse into the system backpack. If the skeleton flood dragon followed thousands of giant alien beasts, the densely packed alien beasts on the ground would be even more horrifying. A move that can kill intensive focus. I saw the bone flood dragon open its mouth wide and bite towards the crazy Blade King. The thousands of troops behind Jiana Long also swarmed up. Countless beasts on the ground also stepped on their companions and climbed up layer by layer. Although it is not the first time that the crazy Blade King has encountered such a situation, when the human race was fighting against the evil god, this kind of scene was quite common. But that evil god killed himself. This skeleton is clearly a dead thing, and now that he is alone, how can he face this army of hundreds of thousands of skeletons? The crazy Blade King gritted his teeth, and in this situation, it is impossible not to fight. With the appearance of the army of skeletons, the temperature in the space rose rapidly. The crazy Blade King tried his best to slaughter the army of bones one by one. Although the army of bones is fragile, they are dead. Their bones are constantly being reborn, which is much more disgusting than Ye Chen's super fast rebirth. Hundreds of thousands of lifeless skeletons are coming towards you. The speed is fast, the damage is not low, and there is even a nearly demigod level flood dragon. Crazy Blade King is really helpless after dozens of minutes of fighting. They were finally pulled into the sea of skeletons by countless skeletons. Countless skeletons were biting at the crazy Blade King bit by bit, and the crazy Blade King's body was not weak. But there are too many skeletons. Ye Chen, although the means are a bit despicable, you are indeed a strong person. The crazy Blade King endured the pain of countless bites on his body, and murmured with a smile. The severe pain did not cause him to let out a whimper, but instead he quietly waited to die. After saying a word. For him, maybe he's already dead. After entering the Gate of Rules, I have been imprisoned in this world for countless days. At first none of the 10 people in Tsundir paid attention to anyone, but there was also a companion who could chat for a while. After a long time, the 10 kings can be considered to have some feelings, until the first king was defeated by the intruders and taken away to the king who was later killed. Slowly, only the crazy Blade King was left among the 10 people. In the dark door of rules, sleep, dream, the king of Crazy Blade recalled the sad second half of his life, and the bitterness that he never showed appeared at this moment. Ye Chen lifted the HUO 10 trillion death burial formation. Holding the residual fire sword in his hand, he walked to the king of Crazy Sword, whose breath was about to disappear. The crazy Blade King looked at Ye Chen and showed a smile. Death may be a relief for me, thanks, Ye Chen. If there is a next life. I would rather marry a wife and have children in an ordinary life rather than be trapped here for 1,000 years, 10,000 years. Ye Chen watched Crazy Bladed Choku until he died and was never afraid and sighed helplessly. In the next life, I don't know if you will have it, but I can make you die happy. Speaking of this, Archer Manger Ki appeared in Ye Chen's eyes. Tsukuyomi, it's very cold at high places, but the strong are always lonely. One day, maybe I will be like you, afraid of loneliness. This is at Tsukuyomi at Ye Chen's fullest, constructing an ordinary city. The Crazy Blade King, on the other hand, lived out his life in that city until he died. The Crazy Blade King there has no great strength, no superior life. Some are just ordinary simple life, marrying a wife and having children, seeing a child and marrying a wife, and then enjoying the happiness of the family. Ye Chen turned and left. This is the gentlest death I can give you. When Ye Chen left, a smile appeared on the corner of Crazy Blade King's mouth, and his vitality dissipated. Ye Chen stepped out of the last floor and appeared in the city again. And the door of the rules suddenly shrank rapidly. In the end, a small ball of light was formed and Ye Chen was slightly taken aback. He stretched out his hand and took the ball of light. In an instant, the ball of light disappeared into the palm of the hand and a circular white spot appeared in the palm of the hand. Ye Chen instantly came up with the method of using the white dot to summon the gate of rules, but Ye Chen didn't understand a little. Isn't the gate of this rule cleared? What's the use of summoning? Thinking of this, Ye Chen summoned without saying a word. A giant gate appeared from Ye Chen's palm, but this time it wasn't blood red, and suppressed his breath. It is a golden and sacred door that looks very high. Ye Chen was stunned. The gate of the rules of the human race was made the same as hell, but the gate of the evil gods was the same as heaven. I don't understand. Although he thought so, Ye Chen didn't hesitate and stepped in. Ye Chen, who was ready to fight, was suddenly dumbfounded. In front of him are thousands of huge beams of light of different sizes. Some are as thick as mountains, while others are as small as needles. Ye Chen was a little confused and didn't react at all. Respected Powerhouse, you can choose an exclusive rule that belongs to you here to enhance your strength. Just as Ye Chen was thinking about the situation here, a voice suddenly came out of his mind. Ye Chen almost thought the system was speaking to him. But suddenly I remembered that the system couldn't call him a strong person he respected. He would just call you a stinky idiot or something. Choose an exclusive rule, like the Mad Blade King. Of course, respected Powerhouse. This answer made Ye Chen's eyes light up. He wanted this kind of rule for a long time. If he chooses a rule of Crazy Blade King, isn't that God blocking and killing God? Buddha blocking and killing Buddha? Then, can I choose any of these? Ye Chen looked around. Countless beams of light came into view, and Ye Chen was dazzled. For a while, I was overwhelmed by this joy and being able to choose master as a rule. You must know that demigods can only be used skillfully, and only gods can master. However, Ye Chen didn't understand a little bit. Since the gods can only master the rules, why, the people in this world are not gods, but they can master? Ah, you stupid. Of course it's because of this door of rules. Chapter 174, the door of evil rules. Just when Ye Chen was thinking about these things, the system's voice suddenly sounded. Ye Chen was stunned. Is this the sound of the system? Still, nonsense. Of course it's Uncle Ben's voice. The system responded angrily. And Ye Chen also came back to his senses, put away the joy in his eyes, and his face full of vigilance. Whenever the system comes up, it either issues a reward, or puts itself in an absolutely dangerous situation. It's still a bit overwhelming in your heart. Don't you really want rules? Go up and choose. If you choose, you won't be able to step into the realm of the gods in your life. Even Laozi can't do anything about it. Understand? Hearing the system's words, Ye Chen's face changed greatly. This is not a trivial matter. The system can't solve it. All of a sudden, the rules of the golden light in front of him were like demons in Ye Chen's eyes. Why do you think Crazy Blade King is not a god? After accepting the gift of the Gate of Rules, he will be controlled by the Gate of Rules in the future, and he will not be able to become a god. He has to help the Gate of Rules to improve the rules until he dies and the rules return. The Gate of Rules, the System will make Ye Chen feel bad. Point in this way, the gate of rules is simply the gate of the devil. Point it should even be said that this gate of rules is alive, right? Otherwise, how can you give rules to others and then recycle them in the end? Respected Powerhouse, do you have any concerns? Just when Ye Chen was afraid, the voice sounded again. Ye Chen's face was pale and a little overwhelmed. Point the system sighed deeply. This time it really had no choice but to remind Ye Chen that it could not accept the gift from the gate of rules. Ye Chen's mind was running wildly and suddenly a light flashed. By accepting the rules, can you fight against evil gods? Of course, respected Powerhouse. Then, can I customize a rule as the first powerhouse in this era to clear the gate of the rules of the human race? Naturally you can. In that case, can I have some time to prepare? I haven't figured out what rules I need. Ye Chen said ghostly. Point the gate of rules didn't react. After all, he was just perfunctory Ye Chen. Point as long as Ye Chen said roughly the type of rule he wanted, he could find a rule that matched it. Point but Ye Chen didn't say it, and he couldn't help it. Point the rules owned by Mad Blade King are also one of the strongest rules that the Gate of Rules has released over the years. Ye Chen was able to defeat the crazy Blade King, which naturally made the Gate of Rules have a strong desire to get Ye Chen as a wager for a while. The Door of Rules was a little hesitant. Should Ye Chen choose immediately, or let him think about it again? Ye Chen saw that the Gate of Rules didn't speak, so he understood the general idea. My strength is very strong, and the rules I need must also be strong. So I can't easily choose random rules. Ye Chen's tone was very positive, as if there was no negotiation. Respected Powerhouse, of course you have this right. When you think about what kind of rules you need, call the Gate of Rules, and I will always wait for you. Ye Chen heard the words and nodded slightly. Point after Ye Chen exited the Golden Gate of Rules, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. Point he was soaked in cold sweat all over. Hey, the system is immoral. Isn't your so-called secret realm too dangerous? As soon as he walked out of the door of the rules, Ye Chen complained to the system. The system is a little silent. Originally, this secret realm was intended to make you stronger. It can be considered that this secret realm can save your life for a short period of time. At least it is like the Yangshan explosion of the evil Flood King. If the physical body dies, your spirit body appears, and you have to die in the Yangshan explosion. Point I thought that after you entered the secret realm, you would cultivate well in this secret realm, where the concentration of spiritual energy is dozens of times higher than that of Blue Star. But look, it's only been 6 days. You fucking slaughtered another city monster to attract the attention of this world. Point and then directly let the Gate of Rules have a love for you. What can I do? I'm desperate too. Okay, system. Brother, you talk. What should I do? Ye Chen started to pretend, acting like a movie star. Activated. The original intention is to let you become a saint, come to this world, to obtain the Door of Rules, and recognize the master, and then break through a god realm. By the way, the ghost knows that you have a first-class ability in the high world. You didn't say it earlier. My goddamn system, not a nanny, isn't that a meaning? System. The next reward will give you resurrection coins. Practice hard. If you don't enter the realm of gods, don't even think about leaving this secret realm. Playing such a big one. The system had a black line on its face, ignoring Ye Chen directly. Ye Chen didn't talk anymore because he was bored and just found a place to rest. Point until the system beeps. Resurrection coins are given to you. Don't fucking die. I think the resurrection coins are a bit low. Can I use a 7 Dragon Ball next time? I want to make a wish. Roll. Ye Chen laughed twice, held the golden ball in his hand, and a coin appeared in the palm of his hand. Point then take out the corpse lying in the backpack and put it on the ground. Point when the resurrection coin saw a corpse, the word use appeared. Point it's really a human setting. With a burst of simple golden light flashed, Ye Chen's fleshly body came back to life. Wait, isn't your resurrection a bit hasty? I see that among other immortals, if you want to resurrect an individual, you have to go through a catastrophe, a 9-day thunder tribulation or something. If you want, I can arrange it for you now. Forget it, I'm just talking. The Spiritual body. Ye Chen got into the flesh, suddenly opened his eyes, stood up and moved a bit. Point with the innate breathing method that comes with the flesh absorbing the spiritual energy. Ye Chen felt very happy after a long absence. It feels good to be alive. After saying this, Ye Chen touched his little head again. But it's really annoying to have no hair. Thinking of this, Ye Chen quickly opened the strengthening interface. Point on the points. There are 180 million points written. The points obtained by killing the crazy Blade King are as high as 100 million. Then he clicked on Raijin Jaka without hesitation. Raijin Jaka Enhanced Edition Enhanced Demand. 1 billion points enhancement content. Shike State Flame with Destruction Effect. Ye Chen smiled. And the fire was free. So I saw Ye Chen skillfully took out the hair growth cream from the system backpack. Skillfully unscrewed, skillfully wiped it evenly on the head. This series of operations, skilled people feel distressed. Chapter 175, The Vast Sea of Stars. After doing all this, Ye Chen skillfully raised Raijin Jaka again. This time, fire can be used without shike. After directly controlling the flame and smearing hair cream on his hands, the hair grows. Wait. Ye Chen's body was shocked. I saw Ye Chen staring at his hands, his eyes looking huge. Fuck. I forgot about it. Ye Chen is stupid. What should I do? It can't be burned. Finished calf. Hairy feet. Bar. No hairy feet. Wanting to cry without tears, I had to use Raijin Jaka to cut off some of the belt flesh in my palm. Let's just say, why? But Ye Chen doesn't think so. He's just used to it. Really, it's just getting used to it. Definitely not a question of IQ. At this moment, the gate of rules is eroding the heavenly way of this secret realm little by little. Ye Chen didn't know anything about this. His current task is just like the system arranged for him. Hurry up. To break through the demigods, get the gate of rules, and then you can return to Blue Star. Some people say that I don't like watching it if I change the world. In fact, I just wrote this into a large-scale dungeon, at most 5 or 6 chapters, and then I will return to Blue Star. After the resurrection, Ye Chen deeply knew the weakness of his own body. The addition of Sage Body and Void Power has a fatal problem. That's the brain. Unprotected. That is to say, as long as the brain is destroyed in an instant, no matter how powerful the body is, it will die. And to solve this serious problem, Ye Chen can't do anything. The most I can say is, practice hard. Compared with Blue Star, the density in this world is too rich. In just one day and one night of cultivation, the realm is about to step into the Bright Moon Realm. Today's reward has arrived. Let's strengthen your fleshly body first. Have you seen the 7 deadly sins? 7 original sins? Strengthening the flesh. Do you want to give me the grace of the sun? Ye Chen's eyes lit up instantly, and he woke up from the practice. The layout is small. The fountain of life is arranged for you. Ye Chen? System, did you take the wrong medicine today? Are you sure you can give me this? No. Then yes. I want it. If Ye Chen hurriedly interrupted the system, he was so excited now that he almost knelt down and kowtowed to the system. I thought you could hold on for 2 more seconds. Just kidding. Am I like that kind of person? Hesitating for a second is all my disrespect to him. System, to talk about this fountain of life. It is incredible. In the original book, Ban drank this stuff and became an immortal body. Use the immortal body to fight with the Demon King. Although the increase in combat power is not that huge, the life-saving ability is directly full. It's just a rule of immortality in the middle world. But for Ye Chen's current situation, as long as he can keep his spiritual body from being instantly killed, then he is an immortal existence. I'll explain the rules later at the beginning of the demigods. Ye Chen reached out and grabbed the bottle of the fountain of life and poured it into his stomach without hesitation. Until all the fountain of life flowed into Ye Chen's body. In an instant, the ground around Ye Chen suddenly grew many flowers and trees. The vitality of plants is strong in itself, and the fountain of life is a treasure guarded by the goblins in the 7 original sins. The tenacity of vitality can be imagined. Even the wood style in Ye Chen was ready to move. Feeling the change in wood style, Ye Chen was stunned and quickly communicated with wood style. I saw that emerald green wood style appeared in my hand. This time wood style. No trace of wood could be seen. Like a stick made of jadeite. It is crystal clear. Ye Chen was stunned. The direction of things always surprised me. Is this still the wood style I know? That wood style that instantly creates a forest. Now, to make jade? Although the change was a bit big, Ye Chen broke the stick with force. It can be clearly seen that the material is still wood, but it has become a little weird. Not to mention the hardness. I'm afraid that the diamond will be smashed by a stick. There is absolutely no comparison. After doing all this, Ye Chen concentrated on practicing again. Watching Ye Chen's cultivation level soaring, the Gate of Rules began to panic a little. This kid in Fang Xingji could kill the demigod Crazy Blade King. What's more, it's about to reach Haoyu realm now, and it seemed that a strong vitality burst out from him just now. The Gate of Rules now attaches great importance to Ye Chen, as if you urgently need a pack of paper after squatting for 3 hours. If Ye Chen uses it for himself, give him another powerful rule. Isn't it possible to kill a god with the power of a demigod? In that case, I don't have to run around in these thousands of galaxies, avoiding those gods who are plotting against me. At this moment, the system is silently hiding in Ye Chen's body, thinking about what kind of cultivation method should be arranged for him tomorrow, so that he can be sanctified in a few days, and so on. Although Ye Chen's combat power is very high now, to tell the truth, Ye Chen used to belong to a mage without blue but with skills. Now there is no shortage of mana, and there is no shortage of skills. Even the melee swordsmanship is not bad, and the combat experience is also sufficient. What is he missing now? It is grade. People use small fireballs at full level, and burn the sky and cook the sea with your level, and the damage is not much different. So the system made a series of plans, and just waited for Ye Chen to hang up tomorrow. The sky gradually darkened, and the blood red moonlight shone on Ye Chen's shoulders. Ye Chen hadn't eaten for 3 days. After all, in this inner world, the stench was so bad that he had no appetite at all. I saw a strong aura suddenly burst out of Ye Chen's body, dispersing around like a wave. Haoyu finally arrived. Ye Chen opened his eyes in surprise and couldn't help but feel complacent. For the goal given by the system, go further. The system looked at Ye Chen's progress and smiled disdainfully. For a world where spiritual energy is revived, this kind of cultivation speed is really good. But for the big world, the existence of those 3 days into the Holy Land is simply too much. After all, the Holy Land is a starting point. Blue Star is just a small planet. Planet? The concept is too big. Is the blue star big? Of course, it's so big that some people can't go around Blue Star in their entire life. But the size of the sun is about 1.2 million blue stars, and in this vast sea of stars, there are countless planets bigger than the sun. The system silently glanced at Ye Chen. He was anxious and wanted Ye Chen to grow up quickly. No hurry, because he is Ye Chen. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.